Everybody. Today is what is it, January 15th, and we officially got our marathon like all runner showcase, showcasing Thief, the medic, and Rook in gameplay, like actually showing off what they do. Justin and I are here today to do another not great episode. We actually did record something in the past, and the files have exploded, so we're going to pretend that never happened and kind of talk about what's been going on with extraction shooters with marathon up until this point. And now that we are less than 2 months away from launch, in a good case scenario, right? We're looking at a March 2026 release. There is just a lot of things to consider as the game is rounding out and getting finished at that 1.0 state. We are also just going to have some gameplay up here from the earlier alpha in April. So I'll be skipping through this like as we're talking, just skipping past menuing and matchmaking, hopefully, whenever I catch it. But Justin's here with me today to talk about Marathon again. If you've seen the other Not Great episodes, same setup that we're going to be doing. But Justin, if you want to go ahead and say hi to everybody.
Hello, you beautiful, gorgeous people out there. I am excited to hop into another episode. It's our no, we're not going to talk about that. Our third episode. I'm really excited again, though, to hop back in the saddle and start talking some marathon and really, kind of breaking down. We did a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff has gone by in the time that we did not record an episode and now, but no, but I'm always happy to be here again. I'm Justin Guerrero. Do some voiceover. You might have heard me here and there connecting with everybody, but I'm excited to get back into Not Great, the wonders of this show.
Yeah, I mean, this is fun to do together, just to even just talk about what's been going on and catch up. We do have a little overview of things to talk about, but most of this is just us rambling. We're gonna try and keep it kind of tighter today. Between normally we push this over like 2 hours sometimes. I want to try and keep it under 2 hours, maybe 1 to an hour and a half, depending on how quickly we can get through stuff. But we can go ahead and start right in with just talking like what we've been up to. I haven't played with you since a while. It's been a while. We played Delta. We played a bit of Arc Raiders. I haven't been playing much Arc Raiders or much Tarkov or anything. I've been doing a lot of nose to the ground video stuff, and I had a surgery last month or 2 months ago now. That took me pretty much out of work for like a month. I was on disability, so I've been doing other things and getting time to play all these games. But what have you been up to? Just I haven't been able to catch up with you.
Yeah, I've done a couple of little side projects in terms of, I mean, I got some of my own stuff, going on, a little DL, maybe, book stuff, question mark, writing book, yes, maybe. Um,
Oh,
so that's always fun, designing that particular book. I won't get too into it because, it's still in the works in terms of working on it, but so I do that. I actually done a bunch of stuff for my voiceover channel too. A bunch of stuff is literally like two videos, right? Okay. But I mean, I think since last episode it's probably three now. But I love to write these shorts inspired by a lot of the music that I hear in these universes, like Marathon, and I did one for Arc Raiders, and kind of setting the scene or just this sort of character scene that I have in my mind that I want to put it out there.
yeah,
Just in the meantime, because these Lord channels, let me tell you, there's going to be plenty of stuff. And, I hope to continue to collaborate. But I just love doing stuff like that. But also, I've been playing Arc Raiders.
yeah. You've been playing more. I felt I haven't really played since Stella Montes dropped. I think I played like the week before. Then when it came out, I think I played like one or two nights with Jake and Thomas, and then I just
Yeah.
kind of been busy. Haven't really been playing it. You've been playing the last couple updates. That's my phone. Turn that
Yes.
off.
Yes. I have several hours into the game, and I do have some thoughts on it. Okay,
Yeah.
several thoughts. Well, just a few.
Is there stuff you want to touch on now, or you want to talk about it in a little bit?
I think we could talk about the last time we played together, right? It was a while. We were trying to set up a fun little in between, I guess, segment, right? In between
Yeah,
episodes, and when we're waiting for information from Marathon, because we had no clue when it was coming, right?
yeah. There was a
And so
long dark
our,
period, so this was kind of in between the April test and before they announced the uh, NDA test a couple months ago. It was like what, November, maybe September.
that was December. Yeah, yeah, that was December 13th. I
Oh,
remember it
that
like
was
it was
I think it was the
yesterday.
second one. There was two tests that were NDA'd. I know
Yeah.
one of them we didn't get
I,
into. One of them we did.
yes, I think can we say the one we got into?
Yeah, we can we
Yeah.
are allowed to say that we were in that test. We just can't tell the details of the
Okay.
test, right? So I think it
Fantastic.
was in September or October ish. I don't remember exactly what the dates were. I know it was before my surgery.
Yeah, I think it was oh gosh, it was October for sure. It was the October play test. We were super excited. I was scared that I didn't get in. I remember that whole debacle. They secretly allowed me in, but just never sent me the email, so that was cool. Until like way later the next day. But yeah, we got to dive into that. But to touch on really quickly, we're trying to compare. We're like, man, we need to play some sort of, extraction shooters. We want to give our comparison so people know kind of, maybe we can give them a rough idea of what are some good extraction shooters to try, or what is a good extraction shooter compare to Marathon. And we thought of
Right.
Delta Force because they just had introduced crossplay and or the console version. And so we were super excited. We're like, you know what? Let's try it. I was pushing Sato, to be quite honest. I said, hey, let's give it a shot. It's our time. Let's do it.
I
And we
don't blame
played
you.
like we had one good long session, like maybe what, like 6 hours,
Yeah, yeah. I
and
think we had like a 6 hour session, then maybe like another three or four, and then another one that was like an hour or two, just kind of playing. And then I think maybe the Arc Raiders test was out that weekend or something, and we were like,
yeah,
let's get off this game, but let's play Arc Raiders instead. But yeah, we
yeah,
played some Delta.
and our take on it, because I mean, we're like, maybe it's a great comparison because it's a little bit of like a casual meets hardcore extraction shooter, also meets this sort of hero-esque or class, however you want to say it, type of shooter. But let's just say hero shooter for the sake of it. But like this hero shooter, and we're like, we can compare the two, and the combat, right? And I can confidently say, and I guess I'll just get straight to it so we don't, stay too much, put too much time into this. But it sucked. It was hot doo doo. We played it and we did not like it.
Yeah. Honestly, in concept, it's very similar to what Marathon's going for, right? Accessible to a lot of people. It would be kind of its own hero shootery thing. Um, Neither of them are going fully into like an Overwatch style where your gun's assigned, your stuff is assigned, right? But more of a class, I guess, with a set look. But Delta Force felt like DMZ with extra monetization, a little extra pay to win on top, you know. Um, and Marathon doesn't really feel like that. In terms of like the gunplay, it I don't know how to say this because I've been playing, Bungie games and Hunt, and I guess I played Overwatch before that for a long time. That I feel like modern Call of Duty recoil is squishy. That's the only way I can describe it. Playing like Modern Warfare, and the Cold War games, it feels like squished. Does that make sense? It feels weird. But games like Marathon, Destiny, and the older CODs, let's talk like Modern Warfare 3, that kind of era, had a lot more hard recoil where you're like, oh my god, this gun kicks. And modern COD is like, oh, this has recoil in a little circle, and you have no idea where it's going at any time. So that kind of killed it for
Yeah.
me.
The biggest portion for me that was like a huge turnoff was like, so what is my background of playing games? You know what I mean? I love Warzone. I'm a big battle royale player, right? I enjoy getting into fights. I'm not much of a passive player unless I'm playing to win, right? Like will play smart and play positioning over sometimes just combat. But I never shy away from a fight in any sort of video game I play. I enjoy being aggressive. I enjoy the smarts that it takes, right, when you're in a battle royale situation. Hence the love of extraction shooters. So I think I would have at least, and I've watched hundreds of hours, right? I know it's not the same as playing, but I could at least say hundreds of hours of extraction shooters from Tarkov. I have played Hunt Showdown, right? And so my point is I play competitive games and games where a lot of the PvP action is meant to, right, be a little bit of a push and pull at times. And so it gives me an idea of how certain fights should go, or how a good gunfight feels and how a bad gunfight feels. And in this game, like, a lot of the gunfights to me were just super off. And at first I was like, well, why are we dying so quick? Like, what's going on? And then I realized that there was like a tiered system of ammo. And granted, like in Tarkov, right, there's different several types of ammo, and same for Arena Breakout Infinite. That being said, in this game, like, the ammo stole the show. You have blue tier
Mm.
ammo and you have green armor, you're just gonna lose, like, just instantly. Like, that's how fast. Like, the TTK was so incredibly fast, and it kind of had me a little confused was the fact that, like, not only was I dying really quickly, but it's like the whole vibe and aesthetic of the game was meant to feel like a casual shooter, like a more of a
Yeah.
casual fighter, not so hardcore. So when we were dying so quick, I was like, this feels hardcore, but like, why I die? And then I use green ammo, or especially the white ammo, in that, like, white ammo does nothing. It's just
Yeah, it
non-existent.
was bad.
Yeah. And so, like, we were losing fights instantaneously, and it was not a fun experience. And then, not to mention, the developers are Team Jade. They worked on COD Mobile. They're 10 Cent Studio, right? And it felt like a mobile shooter, from the audio to like, I was going up a ladder and it sounded like I grabbed like a can from outside and was just dragging it along some metal, and it sounded like super insanely cheesy. like like, think PlayStation 1, you're going up a ladder and the audio noise is there, like cling 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 cling. It sounded so fake and unbelievably horrible, dude. I was embarrassed to, like, be playing this, and I was embarrassed that I pushed that out to play this game. Like, and I
Well, as
hyped
long
it
as you
up with
felt
my
remorse.
friends. Yeah, and I hyped it up with my friends because I was like, "Oh, it's an extraction shooter, something to hold this over, something to hold this over." And we were playing with a longtime friend of mine as well, and he was like, "This is doo-doo, man. What is
Yeah, our
this?"
whole
And
trio
we
was
just
like, "This is
were
kind of
yeah.
sucks."
Yeah. It was like, I wanted to like it, is the sad part, but it just was so, like, incredibly horrible in all of its design. And for you Delta Force players out there, like, listen, if you like the game, kudos to you, but just no thank you. I didn't like it. And then, not to mention, progression felt very mobile, in terms of, like, you want to use a gun, it's going to take a bajillion years to get to it,
Oh my god, there's also
or
a million currencies. Like playing
yeah.
Destiny, trying to
And
find
and
out what
then
currency you're using.
and then one thing that I kind of liked was, like, they gear lock certain things, but then some of the cool gear, you can't, like, run it with, like, green ammo. Like, it's just like, nah, it
Oh
only
my
takes
god,
high tier
that was
weapons.
so weird. There was a machine gun that I really wanted to use. I was like, "Oh, this will be really goofy and funny." So I bought like the machine gun with the biggest magazine I could find, and you couldn't put worse than blue bullets into it. And I was like, "Well, that's dumb. Guess I'll have to bring blue bullets." And then we couldn't queue for a match that would take blue gear because the bullets
Yeah,
counted as blue gear, but I had to be high enough level to play ranked mode. And I was like, well, it's dumb that I could buy all this stuff, but I can't play with it. Um,
there was a portion where I just couldn't even get in because my ammo type was too much, and I was
yeah.
like, what is this?
So, not my favorite system. I know games like Dark and Darker have gear-based lobbies, but they're very typically, if you're loading in with all whites, you can do all whites, you can do all greens, you can do purple and higher, and that's just the difficulties are not level locked or anything. It's just different versions of the same maps. So it's really weird to put that behind a grind. And going back to what you were saying about the ammunition, it's really weird because I come from playing Tarkov, right? Like I got like hundreds of hours in Tarkov, and Tarkov has probably 4 times the amount of bullets per caliber than Delta Force had. But the difference
Oh yeah.
in Tarkov, with it being so meticulous and detailed, is even when you're shooting garbage bullets at somebody, if they have good armor, yes, you will fire 40 rounds into their chest and not kill them. But you have the chance of hitting the neck, the face, which is unprotected. Anywhere the armor isn't protecting is open, so the arms, the armpits, sometimes the side plate or underneath the I don't know how to point this out without showing it on camera. But if you take your arm and you stick it in your armpit and you go down like a couple inches, that kind of section there on some armor is just like exposed in Tarkov, and if they're looking at you the right way, you can just dump that into somebody's torso, straight through the class 6 armor, best armor in the game with garbage bullets and kill them. Or you can do what a lot of people call leg meta, which is just blast somebody's ankles out because it ignores armor if you don't shoot the armor. But Delta Force is basically everything is armor when you have armor.
Yeah.
So it
And
just
it just
it really spikes the time to kill.
yeah, if there's one thing that I hate is like because here's was a bit of the charm with Tarkov, right? Or is the fact that like I mean even okay, so the charm of it was this fact that like when you have the chance to withstand the beef boy, you know what I mean? You run into the guy. He's as Peanut says, he's extremely handsome, right? He's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
all the gear. He's like loaded or gooped out, as all the kids say nowadays. But he's gooped out, right? Dripping in freaking all the armor, but like you have the chance to engage in combat. Like, yeah, it's gonna be a little janky, and you could just the probability is a little low, but you had a probability, right? I could Han Solo it and say, never tell me the odds, and I go for that, like you said, going for the leg, and I can kill the guy. And in Delta Force, it's like that wasn't possible. I'm like, here I go, and then I'm like throwing my rice at him, you know?
Yeah, and then you sit there and you dump like 15 shots into him, and he slowly turns around and like just kills you.
Yeah.
And you're like,
And
okay,
not to
yeah, isn't that
mention
fun?
and not a, and on top of that too, you're like maybe okay, I have a bunch of trash ammo and I could dump like a big mag into the guy. No, like all the starter mags are like, like peanuts. So it's like I can't even do anything with that either. And it just was there was so many concepts that I guess to say what I like about it was like there was certain things about the game that was charming, right? Like it had the feel in terms of right the way the armor worked. You could roll backpacks, right? Like you're Tetrising through your backpack. The way that you're collecting your gear was very intuitive. I didn't have like really big issues with that on controller as well. So there was things that I did like about it, but then there was a lot that just there's a lot more that I didn't like.
Yeah, and
And
especially
another
because we
thing
played
that
it after
yeah
Marathon, a lot of the stuff felt like it was reminding me of Marathon, like the heal system, like holding the button down to pick your heal. But then it was like the meds were less intuitive than Marathon was, and at the time when we were
yeah
playing the Marathon Alpha, I was like, I don't really like the heal system. After playing Delta Force and playing just a bit, I played a little bit more Apex every now and then, but I've come to appreciate the health system of the Marathon, just being the shields and the health, and then very limited heal options. It's either the regular heal or the big heal, and that's it. Um, so I like
yeah.
that system a little bit more now that I've played Delta Force.
Yeah, no, I agree. And another thing that we forgot to touch on, then we'll probably transition over, but was the map design. Like it
Ugh,
was
abhorrent.
pretty poor. It is poor. It's boring. A lot of the entrance ways they kind of force you to like do this I would so there's for example there's like a complex. We're rolling up to the complex, we hear there's fighting. All right, we're gonna third party. These guys have no clue. We're walking it in, right? We're not running to make noise for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about. So we're walking it in. Okay, we're getting ready, and then we're like, where's the entrance? Okay, well, this looks like an entrance, and we go all the way left, and then it's a crack, but then you can't get through it. And I'm like, but why? I could climb the car, right? You can't climb the car. Okay, well, Where else can we go? And it's literally just bottlenecked. One way you can go in and out, and that's it. And it just made for the play like so lackluster because it was like almost every compound or every area that we went to that had a wall, there's no dynamics in the way that you fight or the way that you enter in. And the way, and it's like, it's not that like you need that for every single area. Like you can have the bottleneck if you want, and that's what makes certain like areas intense when you're fighting. But when you're just doing that for every single design that you have in every single map, it's kind of it kills the momentum. It kills the hype of like having different areas to attack from, and it kills the intensity when you're playing the game because like, oh, I just hear a couple of dudes shooting over. I don't know. Like, what was your take on it too?
Yeah, I mean the map design. I hated trying to move from place to place and that like learning the maps. 'Cause I'm like, okay, on the map, I can see we're in this building and we have to go to that building for the quest, and it's across the street. Let's just go. And then you get to the other side of the street, and turns out there's a fence that's just like a big plastic wall, and you can't break it or go around it. You have to go all the way around the main street, you go all the way to the other side of the map, and it felt really weird to try and rotate in some of these places. Like you're saying, some of those buildings were just uh, like a rat nest, bunch of dead ends. Nowhere you tried to go made sense on how to get there, and maybe that's something that like you could learn the map, sure, but for a game that has like the COD sprint through doors thing, there's a lot of doors that just don't open, and that's just kind of it felt weird in an
Yeah.
extraction shooter like this. Um, the actual mini map was like no help in actually navigating the map. Typically, when I want to
Oh,
play like
yeah.
an extraction shooter map and I go, I want to walk through the middle of the map, I'll go walk through the middle of the map. But the middle of the map was actually a giant walled off fenced in area, and you're like, why is this not shown on the map? Why is the map not a hollow, square? So
Yeah.
it was rough. Um,
It was very rough.
but I
What do
do
you
want
think of
to
the heroes?
the
Oh,
heroes.
sorry.
Oh no, 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 no. Characters is a good thing to talk about. Um, they were fine. I didn't hate the characters at all, but they were all reasonably interesting. I don't think any were broken. I know I played the character with the like I think it was a ranged heal, or maybe it was a heal gun, and I could heal myself and heal you. And then
Yes.
he had smoke walls like Harbor and Valorant, and he had a smoke grenade, I think. And if I shot a heal into the smoke would become a healing smoke, which is really
Yeah.
interesting, but also like we could turn it back a little bit, I think. Uh, that
Yeah.
was a good character. There's the wall hack character that's like Sova, it's a arrow that does the recon and wall hacks, but it felt like standard fare, I would say, for an extraction shooter. Um,
Yeah, oh, sorry.
no, no, I think I'm pretty done on that one.
The wonders of life. Everybody's gonna get all the in betweens.
Yeah.
Which is our first live, by the way, recording in terms of the podcast. So that's really cool, and hopefully we continue this. But so getting into my thought too with the heroes, and then we could find officially transition because this was like a big detail. My only gripe with it was there was just a lot of people that gave information of where the players were. There was a lot of abilities that were like, oh, you see the player, you see the player, you see the player.
Hmm.
And with the map design again, where it's like very, very much like they're chokehold everywhere, right? That was something that I was just like not the biggest fan of because I'm like, well, there's not a lot of area to go. There's not a lot of play space where, if I were to get caught, what can I do? How do I do that? Like, right, like different angles that I could take once I'm, sort of pinged.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I just was not a big fan of was I'm like, it's okay for a couple, right? Having different dynamics. Like if Marathon ever introduced that, I would be okay, but just not too many because then at that point it's like, well, we could all just, I don't know. It becomes like easy mode to an extent, and it's like I'm okay with it to a degree, to a very much like a little degree. Um, but
Sure.
ultimately, all that sort of combined was it was very unfortunate. It wasn't what I was hoping for it to be. It had a lot of potential. I think Arena Breakout, from what I've seen, and I still want to try that game out, but from what I've seen in the gameplay I've watched, it seems like it's the better version of it. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It's the good in between.
I've heard recommendations like that before. Um,
Yeah.
but I think,
Oh,
if anything, it made me realize maybe DMZ wasn't that bad. But I think playing Delta Force made me want to try something else. And that's kind of why I ended up actually trying Arc Raiders with you guys. Because originally,
yeah.
I was so against Arc Raiders, and I kind of want to move into Arc Raiders here, just so everybody can see
Yes.
this is
Yes.
what we call a segue into business. Um, I was hesitant to play the game. Not hesitant, but I was uninterested in the game because I traditionally prefer playing first person shooters. Third person games aren't my cup of tea. I mean, I've played Years of War growing up. I played all the Dark Souls games. I've played other third person shooters, Uncharted, and things like that. But in terms of like PvP games, I don't really like third person, and that holds true for Arc Raiders. It's still not my preferred way to play a game like that. But man, after we tried that network test that weekend, and then the game came out, I was like, all right, I'll play. I played most of the month that it came out, I think, and then it's taken a bit of a back seat, unfortunately. But man,
Yeah.
what a way better extraction shooter experience than Delta Force. The AI enemies are interesting, and I think that's obviously the strong point of Arc Raiders, right? The AI
Yeah.
enemies are very, very detailed. The way they move is very quote unquote realistic for how they want to represent it in the game, right? I don't know if that's how a drone flies after you shoot off one of its propellers, but I could believe that is what's happening. Um, the map design is interesting. It's the total opposite, I think, of Delta Force. Where Delta Force was like, this is really overworked. They were very natural feeling. Um, the one with the I don't remember what the names are right now, but the dam one felt like a very good, well designed starter map. Big central road to cross the map on. A couple good
Yeah.
extracts on the outside, and then the really crazy ones in the woods and the swamp area. Kind of gives you a variety of uh, environments to get into fights. And then as you move into the desert, like city that's under sand, that was like a really cool change up over the first map. And then moving into like blue, not blue fields, blue something. The wide open greenery with like destroyed metal and secret underground like tunnels and stuff. Also crazy change up. Very, very fun to like snipe on that map specifically. And then the desert map has a lot of interior buildings to fight in. So every map has its own meta, I would say, in terms of like what weapons are the best here, what's the worst. But nothing is so crazy where you're like, you cannot bring a pharaoh to Buried City, or you can't bring, uh, an anvil to what's the third one, the really wide open grassy one, the one where you can fight the
Blue
queen,
Gate.
Blue Gate. Like you can bring a pistol or a kettle to Blue Gate, and you'll be fine if you play it right. But obviously, things like the Pharaoh and the Osprey are more meta on those maps where it's wide open. But they did a really good job having the variety in there and between the maps. And then the AI enemies are great to fight. Um, in terms of the ammo balancing, I feel like anything that's not heavy ammo was just bad because you have to fight the AI pretty much. And fighting players, you typically wanted light ammo because it was the most cost effective usually for fighting players. So I'm not a huge fan of the ammo system. I think you could use some tweaks, but I preferred to see it more as a PVE oriented game that they added the extraction shooter element to later to make the PvP in there, because the social interaction was like so much fun, especially early on, right? VoIPing to people, calling friendly, you're like running past each other, you're full sprint and you know each other, you're like screaming, um, try not to get into a fight, or you know, someone just yells "fuck you" from 1,000 feet away and throws a bomb at you, and you're like, "Oh my god, what is that?" And it's a leaper unit that just fucking explodes. Um, there was a lot of oh shit moments learning the game, and then after we learned how to play the game, it was still interesting. The economy was a cool thing. I really like the system of breaking down items to then rebuild things back in your stash. Like breaking it down in game to salvage was really cool, and I like that pretty much everything can be crafted. Tarkov has crafting, always has, but Tarkov is much more of a limited selection of things that you can craft and some things you have to buy. Whereas Arc Raiders feels more like a survival game in that you can craft pretty much everything, and that's your main avenue to get things. Because most things have either a purchase limit or you can't even purchase them from the stores. So you have to go in there and find the materials to craft these things. And I think that's what makes it a really interesting game in a meta sense of like the gameplay loop. Is it a complete survival game, but instead of going back to your Minecraft base at night to craft with what you gathered that day and get ready for the next day. I don't play Minecraft, but this is how I imagine Minecraft is played, right? uh, you get to go out, play a mission in Arc Raiders, and then instead of going to your house that you built at night, you go back to Speranza, and you're in the menu in your stash and doing stuff in the workshop. But it fulfills the same kind of purpose of material gathering to craft things, survival material. So that makes it its own unique gameplay loop that nothing else has in the extraction shooter genre. And then I felt like they slapped the extraction shooter on after that, and that makes it like really compelling to me. Is that it was a complete game before the extraction shooter got in there. So um, I think it's a phenomenal game. There are plenty of things that I would change about it. I don't think it's a 10 out of 10 game. But anywhere between like an 8 to a 9.5, I'd be willing to you know talk about compromise on with most people. But I think a 9.5, like truly, uh, very unique, and for $40, it's great. I know some people hate the AI voice work. I I don't really have
Yes.
a stance on it specifically. I don't like AI quick hacks, get rich quick with AI scheme LMAO. Not what they're doing, but that's what it feels like sometimes. But at the same time, if they paid the voice actors to do that and they agreed and that's what they plan to do, like I get it. I can't blame them for doing what's in their budget to sell the game for $40 too. But it feels I don't like AI being used in generative ways like that. Like I don't like maps being designed by AI. I don't like graphics being designed by AI. So I don't really like voices being done by AI either. But I'm not going to not play the game for that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of points that you're making with the game. In my experience, I've played several hours of the game. I will think that I do think it's a 9 out of 10. But before I even transition to that, like in terms of voiceover AI work, obviously I'm not really the biggest fan. I think where like I'm okay with anything AI related is like think of, you're starting off, you don't have a graphic designer, you don't have a voice actor, and you want to really write the script, and you really want to realize some of your dreams as a creator, and you want to do these things. I think that, I allow a pass to those people because it's like you want to create, and sometimes you don't have the money to, right? You don't have the money to pay an actor, or unfortunately, not everybody's like wants to like collaborate, or sometimes, right? Like these voice actors, like, I'm always down to collaborate with people. Like that's something that I just have a passion for voiceover, and that's it. That's how it works. Um, Yeah, I studied it, but and I would like to get paid, but I don't mind collaborating because I love it. And you don't have a ton of voice actors that are like that. I'm sure there are a few, but not everyone. It's very cutthroat out there. So for people just, first starting off, like that's the only pass that I give. But like when you're a bigger studio, like a double A or whatnot, maybe just cut back on the dialogue or where you use dialogue.
Hmm.
And I think that like obviously like, listen, Embark, I call me, right? I'll do some voiceover for you. Don't worry. Then it's like if you're worried about pricing, use a voice actor that's relatively new. You know, use new talent instead of going with That's another thing is like we don't need what's this Troy Baker for the 80 millionth time. Listen, I love him, but we don't need that sort of same voice all the time. Let's maybe as a double A studio, use this as a time to sort of get smaller people. Me. Anyway, no, but in general, though, I think that like bolstering other people up in that way is helpful. But
Hmm.
on a side note, in terms of the game, 9 out of 10. Music, I've never bought a game's album before, but until I got to this game, and possibly Expedition or what's the Expanse? Sorry, that's another one I'm gonna buy.
I'll be buying
And
marathons if they give us one.
Listen, if Marathon better have a soundtrack that I could purchase because I'm buying it. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh
not gonna
God, yeah.
stream it. I'm supporting that 100%. I love the music. So this music of this, the game is fantastic. The graphics are amazing. The enemy AI are pretty cool. The way that they sort of trained the AI was kind of cool to move through. People get it confused. They think it's adaptive, and it's not necessarily adaptive. It's just the way that they trained it was like, to kind of like naturally fit through. They're not continuously training it. But so like that's really cool. There's a lot of aspects. I think it would have been a really cool cooperative shooter as well. I think it really
Yeah.
would have stood a chance, like a survival. Think of the Division 1 when they had that expansion with the survival expansion, and you could choose the extraction between PVE or PvP. Now, just imagine if it was just that PVE sort of section, and that would have been amazing. And I still think that that would be something cool to see. I'm not gonna lie,
Hmm.
just for the fact that of how passive people like to play. I think it's one of those things where it's like, well, actually might be worth like uploading one of those modes for those people that want to experience the PvE, and I'm sure they're still gonna find success. But it's a great game. That being said, one of the things that, and I love third person games. See, I'm different from Seto. It's my preferred. I love them. Um, it's exciting. I've played a lot of multiplayer, third person games that I've loved that are just high octane, that are moving, that just feel great. And then there's this game where just something about the combat that I just don't like. And it was since the tech test. Felt the best way I could describe it is it feels clunky. Like very like not just clunky because oh you got to be slow, you're scav or whatever, right? It's just clunky. Like it doesn't feel smooth. In terms like I when I play a third person game, I do want a certain amount of pacing to it where I feel better and or at least maybe I get even faster. And for a game like think of like Tarkov or even how Marathon works, right? Like you can spec into where you're gonna move faster and you're gonna move longer. And in this game, I was like, well, maybe it's my specs, right? Respect my entire character to what the pros are using in terms of movement, and it still feels slow and sluggish, and it just does not gravitate me. When I'm getting in combat, I'm not having the most fun. Uh, in the fights, I feel like some of the guns feel weird. Some of the best feeling guns, of course, are the OP guns, right? Like if I'm using an anvil, like it feels fantastic. And it's like I really want to love this game through and through for everything. But the one thing that kills me, and it actually caused me to just put it down, And listen, I'm okay with admitting that I could be an average player. I'm not gonna pretend like, oh yeah, I'm super cracked, or say that I'm not bad either. Like, listen, I play battle royales, I get my wins, I get high kill games, like, trust me, but in this game, it doesn't, the combat just to me does I can't gravitate toward it. I do not like it, and that is the unfortunate part. I'm sure there's people gonna hate on me, think I'm crazy, but even now too, I have that ability to compare with Marathon's tech test compared to what I played here in terms of like the gun feel. And I significantly 110% prefer Marathon's gunplay any day over Arc Raiders. I think that PvP players are gonna like it. With the last we've played, I mean, there's not too many details I could share. But it felt good, And so my biggest thing with Arc Raiders, again, just combat was my thoughts on it. I have put the game down, especially when Marathon comes out, maybe indefinitely. I don't know when I want to pick it back up. Maybe I'll go in updates here and there. Other than that, I mean, I think the game deserves its success. Have fun, but it's just one of those games where I'm like, the movement just not for me. It's just not it.
Mhm.
Um, but and the missions, that's another thing we forgot to touch
Oh
on.
my
The
god. Okay, the
missions
missions were
are,
bad. There's no
yeah,
plot to the game. Don't do the missions. I mean,
yeah.
do some for the trigger grenade and the snapback grenade blueprints, and then don't do it anymore. Because man, they suck. They're so bad.
It's just like, and the lore, I can't lie, the lore ain't that interesting. I hate it. I wish I loved the lore. And not everybody cares for the lore, right? You're just there for the gameplay, right? And that's fine. But if you're there for the lore, I'd be reading through that, dude, and I'm like, I don't know.
I think
I'm
even
like,
Jake was like, I'm not going to prestige or he's not going to do the expedition because he didn't want to do the quest again. And,
no, yeah, why would I?
like,
For
why
for
would
five
you?
extra points? Oh, okay, sorry. I almost went it out right there. Let me pull it back down. Hold on. But for 5 extra points, no, thank you. Yeah, the missions were horrible. I tried reading through the lore. I tried really diving into the world, and like, I think, I don't know. I am interested in it, and I think it's really cool, and I love the aesthetic, and but I'm just like, the execution in terms of like the story and even the missions that you do, it's just gaga. I
Yeah, that's
just
about
don't
right.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, I personally, I like the movement they went for in the game because I felt deliberate. They made it slow on purpose. So for me, I was fine learning to play that way. Totally get the it feeling clunky though, because I think that's just how they made it. Um,
Yeah.
but not being your cup of tea, I don't blame you. You know. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, for both of us, I mean, being a 9 out of 10 game, despite whatever flaws we have for it,
Yeah.
I think just reflects that Embark made a good game. The finals too. I don't know how much of the finals you've played, but the finals was a good game.
Oh
Um,
yeah. I love the finals.
so
It was
they're
phenomenal game.
they're showing themselves to be a pretty competent force
See,
in the industry.
that's a game where I'm like, yeah, I don't mind admitting like, man, I kind of suck at keeping up with that one, but
Oh, me too.
it is fun. It is because like the people that like, so in the beginning when everybody's learning, I'm like, we're winning. I'm doing the tournament mode. We're like building up, right? We're winning our tournament mode. Okay. And now we played again like a couple months later, and now everybody just knows like through a T.
The
And I
strat
have
for
such a
every
learning
place.
curve. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have such a learning curve in terms of like the movement and everything. And, kudos to those guys that can catch up with it. But like I couldn't keep up, unfortunately, in terms of that degree. But I mean, it's an awesome game. Again, they know how to develop, and they know how to come up with some really cool, fresh ideas. And I'm normally not a big fan of arena shooters, but I loved again, I loved the finals. I thought it was sick. I had a blast playing it. So, again, I'll admit my faults when I can, but I also admit like the certain things of the gameplay where it didn't really like doesn't fit for me, right? Or just
Yeah.
doesn't fit in my opinion, right? But again, it's not me hating. I love the success of Arc. You guys might hate me a little bit later. Uh, we got some talking later, but I think that we should probably dive into what we do like. And what we really do like was this
Marton.
marathon. Martin. Yes,
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 Marton.
Martin. Yes, let's talk about the new Vidoc that we had just a couple of weeks ago in Martin.
Yeah, we had that Vidoc come out. We also had the thing come out today. So maybe we should talk about both of them while we're talking about this.
Yeah, we can do
The
simultaneous.
is the Vision of Marathon Vidoc is the one we're talking about. And that one they kind of showed off the new look for the game, specifically like the finished 1.0 kind of graphic style they're going for, which compared to this footage, if you're not in the chat with people commenting on this, we've already been talking about how the footage from this alpha looks so different after you look at the stuff from the last month or so,
Yeah.
that they almost look like different games. Now this doesn't look bad on its own, right? Like it looks like a clean style, but obviously they've gone so much harder into the post processing and updating those graphics now as we've gotten closer to the release, which is kind of what we always expected, right? When we're talking alpha, we're not talking a beautiful piece of work, right? We're talking functional. Um, so I think the time that they took when they delayed the game ended up being really good for them to get to this point because graphically it looked really good in that Vidoc. And then obviously they talked about some things like solo queue, proxy chat, Rook. The maps were all talked about there. They showed off some cores. They showed off some weapon mods, um, more weapons, I think. And I'm sure there was other stuff, but that's just like an intro to that. If you want to mention some things specifically, Justin, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, going off the art, like you were saying, and I think we could say this. If we can forgive me, Bungie, was that when the playtest that we played was significantly better than the first one that we played, right?
Yes.
And then the reveal of the video was way better than what we played.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I remember when we queued up for the tech test that was not in April, the one from September. We were like, wow, this is so much better looking than this. I think they cleaned up some of the angles, cleaned up some of the textures and stuff compared to what you're looking at right now. Uh, but it was
Yeah,
a surprise to see the Vidoc come out like a month later, and we're like, "Oh my god, the game did not look like this when we played it." But this is
yeah.
crazy that were sitting on this and just weren't going to tell us until
It was
that day.
yeah, I'm like, "Oh my gosh," I felt betrayed in a good way, but I was like, "Oh my gosh." It was almost like your significant other wins $1,000,000 and didn't tell you until, like, they bought a house, you know what I mean? And you're like, "Wait a minute, why didn't you tell me? What?"
Yeah.
But then you're happy, but then you're like, "Wait, how didn't I know?" But man, it was absolutely gorgeous. I loved every single minute of it. I was very happy that we got to see, and they were able to show these players and everybody that was, very upset with where Marathon was in its alpha state. And one thing I will say is in terms of when we played in October, one thing that Joe Ziegler kept saying was the fact that, and yes, we did meet up. No, I'm just kidding. But one of the things that he kept sort of saying was that like the art process is actually not as intensive as people say. It's not as intensive like in terms of like trying to freshen it up. And I was like, I don't know if he's just saying that. Everybody was like not believing him. But from the time, because remember that came out when in the summer, right?
The
And then
test
by
that
the
we played
time
in, it was in April and May.
no, it was Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, it was in May, and then from May to October, like that was a significant jump
Yeah.
when we were playing it. And then to then now see this is like an even more it was insane to see how fast the turnaround was. And but it makes me happy, right? They did lean into the grunge look, right, that we had in all the visuals, teaser trailers, including the awesome short film that we got during the launch. That's what I wanted, and that was something that I put in every single tech test. Every single tech test. That's one of the things that because they have you fill out service. I would ask is like, let's make it closer to trailers. Let's make it closer to the trailers. We're getting there. The last one I played, and I was like, but we need it closer because like I knew that the aesthetic is so beautiful in itself, right? It's like this mirror's edge, feeling
Mm-hmm.
of an art design meets like an apex, right? Like so it's fantastic, but at the same token, I don't know, it wasn't shining, and I'm like, I know it'll look cool, but you got to add more textures to it. You got to add more textures, and for it to really just pop and not just look too clean, right? Because I think that you could have the grime that people kind of want and remember, because Marathon
Oh, hang on. I'm losing you.
too clean.
Uh-oh.
Like these styles meet, and it yeah, man, it really brings it on. I loved every minute of it. Like I said,
Uh-oh.
it was a nice surprise.
Hang on. Can you hear me, Justin?
Oh, sorry, was I lagging that whole time?
Yeah, yeah. You lagged out for the last like minute.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Essentially, I'll sum it up this way. It was a nice surprise, the fact that we were able to see the marriage of the sort of dark gritty meets the clean, aesthetic that they've created, and
Yeah.
marrying those two together was perfect. Because I want the bright colors. I want the clean, the very angular. I guess angular. I'm trying to think of a good modular, maybe like look of art, right? Where it's just this very modern, sleek look, and it has that clean feel, but also I love the game. Like, give me some of the grime, and so mixing those two things was just fantastic. But yeah,
Yeah, I think. Oops. Oh God. Oh no. What have I done? There you go. I was trying to pull up my notes and I closed the video. Pulled up my Steam. The the art style. I wouldn't say change, but the ramp up. Um, yeah, definitely like a big significant thing. I think from my perspective, it was always on the table and a given that the graphics were going to get better by the time the game came out because it wasn't even supposed to be viewable by the public. It was supposed to be behind closed doors, NDA'd. They obviously were not ready to show it off like that, but they did. So I give them merit for caving and just being like, sure, go ahead, stream it. We'll fix it later, anyways. Um, but they did go through and touch up a lot of like these textures on like the grass look so different now, and I am glad that they didn't settle because I think the game like base art design, the style design they're going for is going to be good enough for performance wise to be good on multiple different pieces of hardware and things like that. So I think they can go a bit harder on like these post effects on getting the detailing right on the edges, like you were saying, because it's a very modular look. It looks kind of everything feels like it's 3D printed, kind of, and that's I think intentional. But with more and more effects that they've been doing, they look 3D printed still, but it looks more lived in, more used, more like a real thing, and I appreciate that. I didn't really have a complaint before, but it's just crazy to see now. On top of that,
well,
oh no, go
you,
ahead.
you you did you did have one complaint: the fog.
Okay, yes, I did complain about the fog, and I forgot about it because the new stuff looks so good without the fog.
Yeah, they fixed it. It looks
But
better.
looking in this video in this footage, yeah, I mean, even perimeter like gets foggy and washed out at like 50 yards. But Dire Marsh, if we get Dire Marsh footage up at some point, that's what I want to point out specifically. But it's just always being foggy on some maps and at some distances was atrocious. I was complaining about it like the entire time we were playing the alpha, or the closed alpha, and it looks like from the footage that it's been toned back significantly, and there's even
Yeah.
sun on Dire Marsh, and that sounds lovely. I would love to see the
Yeah.
sun on that map because it looks pretty. It doesn't have to be a swamp at all times. You know, it can be a swamp in the day. Um,
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to reiterate too that you said, and I thought was a fantastic point, and I think that, it's a kind of a part of what we want to do in terms of like, or at least what I want to do in terms of when we started up this podcast was sort of clear up some of the thoughts that people had of the game, um, in terms of like how does it compare to extraction shooters? What's it doing good? What's it theorizing, right? But also is like the they showed you an alpha, like it was again closed test, and yeah, it was very cell shaded. Trust me, I hated how it looked. I'm not a huge fan of cell shaded games at all. It's just it doesn't really look interesting to me, especially for this type of game, given that we had the art that they've showed. But the fact that like they said that hey, it'll change. This is an alpha by the time of September's release, and nobody really believed them. Yet literally, it was leaked in September. They had showed leaked footage of where the art style was, and then by October, we actually got to play it, but it was leaked in September. So they actually reached that deadline to at least get it a lot better, not to this level, but a lot better than what it was. And who knows if they did have it to this level, but they were just alpha testing, what version we were playing was a later
mhm.
version. And so I commend them, and this is why we don't try and jump to conclusion, especially when the tag alpha is on there. And I know people were like, well, yeah, it was such a short turnaround. But at the same token, I'm like, well, look what they did, right? They really proved to you that, there's a misconception with art that they can't be able to turn it around relatively quickly, when in actuality, it's like that's something that they can do pretty quick. And especially with the size of team that they have. They're not an indie studio. And I mean, it's only 300 people working on the game, but that's still a lot more than most studios get.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. The size of Bungie was huge. I know they had layoffs, multiple times, but they're still a very large company. Um, so they definitely have the manpower to make changes like this happen. But let's go a little bit further. I don't have specific notes on the Vidoc, but let's talk a little bit about the maps that they talked about, I guess, because they did mention Outpost, which I don't think we. Maybe, I think it was listed when we played like the last day of that April test, but we couldn't queue it. Um, Outpost is a map that we to get to try. We cannot talk about details about it, but we can, talk about what they've shown off. And then they did also show off Cryo Archive, which we got leaked, or not leaked, but hinted at before. I guess it was leaked too. Um, and they showed us a little bit of what that's about, and obviously the compiler that's at the seventh vault, I guess. Bungie and their sevens. So I'll let you start with this one if you want to go ahead and start with that, and then I'll
Yeah.
follow up.
Uh, Outpost. What we can say about it. Let me think here. Sorry. Okay, so I want to say that first of all the maps feel really good. The one thing that I will say in terms of pacing, like even if you compared it to a game like Delta, maybe you're curious, you're a Delta Force player. How does the pacing work? Well, Perimeter is fairly like it's the beginner section, but there's a lot of fighting because it's a relatively small map. So you're always kind of getting those moments to engage. Yes, you can go without getting into engagements, right? Dire Marsh, a lot bigger of a map. You could stealth around even more in that game. But there's also like more enemies you're gonna be fighting, right? And player combat, there's like specific areas where you're going to be seeing these POIs that people are fighting over. And normally that's their hot zone, so to speak. And but with Outpost, I guess the best way to describe it, if you're a Tarkov player, I feel like every extraction shooter, it's almost like a necessary uh, sort of type of design. If you're a Arc Raiders player, I'll also give you an example. So for Tarkov, it'd be like the labs of Tarkov, in my opinion, from when we were playing it. And what I mean by that is like, I mean, from what they showed, there's a lot of tight corridor, in certain sections. Um, that was really fun. A lot of PvP, a lot of even PvE. Like it's very intense. They kind of like mush you together, and like that's really cool. And for Arc Raiders players, it'd be like maybe akin to like Stellamontis, right? Where it's again tight corridor, a lot of fighting. If you're a DMZ player, Building 21, I have a ton of examples. But anyway, I did enjoy that aspect. I really love that it's a night map. I hope that we do get more types of how would you say, night maps, or like at least changing of night and day. I think would be absolutely cool. It was beautiful, beautiful, like what you saw there. It was just very gorgeous map design. um they did talk about the weather. Now we can't probably get into detail of how it works, but the weather's cool. The hazard that they talked about is it's definitely hazardous, and it forces you to play a certain way, and it's not to the level where it makes it a nuisance to play the game, but it is actually really cool. Think of like the thunderstorms in Marathon that we've seen even
On
like in
Dire
the
Marsh.
alpha footage.
Yeah.
Yeah, or on Dire Marsh or Perimeter, that sometimes it rains and then you get the thunder. It's kind of like that, except it's more consistent, but it doesn't really impede too much where like if you get struck by the lightning storm you're dead, right? I will say that, and I don't think that's giving much away because you got to see the individual walking in the in the, we'll call it just the hazard, and not instantaneously getting knocked, right?
Yeah.
So that's really cool, and I will say it's hazardous. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. And another thing that was really awesome was the pinwheel. Obviously we can't give details, but again, think of labs, think of Stella Montes. It's an awesome POI, and there's reasons to go there, and there's reasons to fight there. And what I will say too is like, oh no, I really can't say that detail, but it was very intricate in how you can move into the map and out of the map is all I'll say. Without
Yeah, I would say
it's
there are a lot
yeah.
of puzzles on this map. This map is very um
Yes.
it's so you're comparing it to Stellamontis and Labs. I would say this map's a little bit more like Factory than Labs, and I think
Factory. Okay.
Cryo Archive is going to be the Labs of this game in the Stellamontis, because
Okay. Yeah.
I think they were saying you have to bring good stuff in to go to the Cryo Archive, so you might
Yes.
have to
Yes.
have a minimum buy-in on top of it being a very close quarters, um, all teams trying to get to the middle while doing raid mechanics, which is pretty cool. Um,
Yeah. I'm excited.
I would say Outpost. We haven't played Cryo Archive. I'll say that up front, unless Justin hasn't told me. But I can't speak to that. I can only tell you we haven't, as far as I know, played Cryo Archive. But Outpost is, from my limited experience, it's definitely more intense than the other two maps. It is a step up. They uh, they did have it like delayed. I didn't get to play it right off the bat when we were playing, so I think that was to kind of give us the time to learn the game if you hadn't played it before. Um,
Yeah.
so definitely more. It's more like how Blue Gate is a significant step up from Buried City and
Yes.
the Dam than Telemontis straight up, because there are secrets and there are things to do there that are not there's nothing that compares to it on the other maps, really.
Yeah,
So it is a very fun place to figure out. The fights were very intense. It is a small map. I know we can't like get specific about how big or how
yeah, I
small,
know.
but it's smaller than perimeter. I think we can say, just like
Yeah,
internal total acreage, um, and it's very vertical. You can see that in a lot of those clips. Most of those
yes,
things are like you can stand on or and are climbable. Glitch loves that map. I'll tell you straight up. I don't think I played Glitch on the map, but if you are on
yeah,
Glitch, you're going to be having a good time. Um, and a lot of the footage we saw in the Vidoc was also on that map. A lot of the interiors. It is a very cool place, and I can't wait to talk about it like in detail.
I know.
Hopefully, the next test. I mean, we're gonna. I know we haven't mentioned it yet, but like we got confirmed 2026 release, right? And a test. Sorry, March release, and before then a test. So I'm hoping that let's say 70% of the game is in the test. Um,
Yeah,
I know Arc only had the first map; they had Dam, and that was it for the test. And the Arc test was a little underwhelming for me. Like it convinced me that it would be an interesting buy, but I would like Marathon to let us play all the maps, and if they want to lock away some of the gear, that's fine. You know,
yeah.
obviously
I
Cryo
I
Archive
was
is
gonna
excluded,
say,
but
I was like, they did give more maps in the art test, but I forgot you did. I don't know if you played the closed test that they had before the open
mm-mm.
one.
I only played
Yeah,
the open test.
in the closed one they had where it was like literally just invite only, but it had like at least two maps. It had Buried City and it had Dam.
Yeah,
So those
I'd
were like
heard people talk about Buried City. I know people had played it, but it wasn't in that test. Which,
yeah.
if I think if I had played that test and we had been able to play two maps, I might have latched on a bit more. But only having the one map to go on, it was a little weird. I mean, we didn't have a ton of time to play it anyways. Like we hopped on probably the last day of the test and played like 3 or 4 hours. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it just I would like the marathon tech test. Hopefully, let's say maybe it's a weekend. I'd like a week. A week's like a really good time frame for people to really get into a game like this and experiment. But maybe Bungie will think that's too long to figure out strategies and metas and things like that. So maybe
Yeah.
it's only a weekend, which will be fair and fine. Um,
Yeah. I will say, I out of all the maps so far, Outpost was, I like them all. I honestly don't
yeah,
have a gripe with any map. Outpost is my favorite though, and I wish I could talk about. I had a lot of playtime, like a lot in there,
yeah. I mean, Outpost was
because
really fun. Um,
yeah,
I mean, Perimeter and Dire Marsh have their own feel. Perimeter definitely feels like the easiest map, and I know they were talking about it in the Vidocs. This is why I'm thinking about it.
oh yeah,
But
it's the map you loot up on. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, but it's
you're
definitely the easiest. It's the
yeah,
most calmest in terms
yeah,
of the map design keeps a lot of the longer angles cut off. There's that big mountain going through the middle with the pipes that we can go through, and
yeah.
that big trench wall that kind of divides the map and makes it a lot safer. So
True.
it's more likely, I think, that you survive on perimeter than the other maps. Dire Marsh definitely
Yeah,
a step up, but also like really cool open map. Longshot and railguns like went crazy on Dire Marsh. Like they really
yeah,
couldn't on perimeter. But Outpost is like I found places to make the sniper work, and there was a lot of places where shotguns were going so hard.
yeah,
It was so much fun to play that map, I think. And maybe
yeah,
there are tweaks that they could do to the other maps to make them that exciting, but I'm kind of okay with having more laid back maps and more intense maps personally. That's kind of
yeah,
how I feel like a lot of extraction shooters are. Hunt excluded because Hunt is all about PvP, but Tarkov has easier maps. Arc has easier maps. So I like the concept. I think people will really gravitate towards perimeter off rip. And then it's going to be more intermediate people on Dire Marsh day one, and you're going to see
Yeah.
very, very few people in Outpost because Outpost is going to scare a lot of people, I think, at the start.
Yeah. And I am gonna love it because I know almost every nook and cranny there. I can't wait till these noobs get in on the game.
Our
I'm
Christmas
gonna be
news come
stomping.
twice.
Oh my! I remember when I first entered in though, I was afraid,
Hmm.
but like once I got familiar, and two, I again, you got to get over gear fear in any extraction shooter, and once you get like hit that moment, and you're just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go for it, and I'm like fighting teams by myself, and it was like it was fantastic,
Yeah, I
I
will say part of that change going into that test for Outpost. I think there was a complaint that I'm not going to get super specific, but you'll know what I'm talking about. There was a complaint I had on how the economy worked, and
yeah,
it made gearing feel really bad. Gearing feels a
yeah,
lot easier now and more consistent. So I think it has made the experience of gear fear a bit easier to cope with, because it's a
yeah.
little bit easier to get gear in our experience than it used
Yeah.
to be.
I will say like this as well, and this is also what I love, I think more about Marathon than Arc. And I mean, I can't really I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but if you're afraid that like there's only one way to get loot like Arc, like there's plenty, and you just got to put in just a little like a decent amount of effort. It's not like they just hand you everything,
Hmm.
but it makes doing certain things worth it. And that's one thing that like with Arc I didn't really get, was like even including like missions, like I missions and the store. I would say maybe mainly missions. Like it just made it useless to go to these people unless you had money. Like it felt like there's only two ways to get things, right? Like, or three, and you're just like, and yeah, that's what all I'll say. And because I don't want to spoil too much, but I want to spoil it, but I don't want to get in trouble either.
Yeah.
And I want to get invited just in case there's another test somewhere.
But yeah, I agreed that it's a pretty scary map to go onto for the first couple times. We had the
Mhm.
benefit of being on a non-permanent account when we were playing, right? Like we
Yeah,
knew it was going to get reset. Um,
yeah,
but
and
definitely so cool.
they did give us a day. I can wait. Can I say this?
It was
The
the
fun
exact
day.
same thing that was in the alpha test where it was I think it was Dangerous Days is what they called it in Boast, where they're just like go have all the things, just go fight each
Yeah,
other, you know.
yeah, we had
And
all the things, and that was oh man, talk about outposts like being fun. Like holy crap.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. Um, I think I don't think vendors have been changed significantly. They showed off a lot of the vendors in the
They
Vidoc.
a bit, but we can't really,
Yeah, that's not like specific about like the skill trees and stuff. But we did
Yeah,
see
yeah.
like I did get to talk to like the Arachne AI they showed a little bit of in that.
Yes,
I
yes.
love that death cult feel that in Mida. The Mida voice actor AI feels a little cringe anime protagonist. Um, but I like the
Yeah,
concept of Mida, which is blow
we
things
didn't
up.
hear him in the test. Remember, like we
No,
didn't
no,
like. Yeah, we got to hear him now. There's some like you guys got lucky because you got to hear these factions. There was a couple, like, obviously because they showed it now, that we didn't get to hear anything.
yeah,
We got to see the visual, but we couldn't hear anything. We're just like, oh, and it's like
yeah. The
showing the
audio wasn't done
video
yet,
with no dialogue.
but
I was like, well, this is embarrassing, and I can say this too, I guess. Like, we didn't get to see what you have to do for them. Yeah, I guess,
uh-huh.
right?
We didn't see any
Like,
quests.
yeah,
Um,
no quest, nothing.
there were like the ones that like all the uh vendors had, which is also in the alpha. Like they're beatable. I don't want to say dailies because they're not dailies, but they're like in most games they would be a daily quest. Like go
Yeah,
loot 5 boxes, and then when you finish it, you would get a new one. It's just like a repeatable quest. That's just what we had for them, and that was just to rank them up. But they showed like in the Vidoc, they mouse over. Arachne has the Wasteum shotgun. Let me tell you,
Oh,
that was the first thing that I tried, and I
yeah,
like being able to get that from a vendor compared to the first test. I was like, okay,
yeah.
we're gaming, but they're my favorite for that reason. And in case somebody's wondering, I'm an Arachne rep now. No
Actually,
longer.
I'm pretty sure I can talk about what I was like avoiding was like because I'm like going through it. Was like you're saying, we do missions and we get rewards, and the rewards are so beneficial and they're so good. Obviously, I'm still gonna dance around a little bit, but it felt fantastic, right? Like that's one thing because they do talk about contracts a little bit, and we just can't get
Yeah.
into detail probably about all the contracts, but the alpha does show some of the contracts, and it feels worth it to go for the contracts. And Arc Raiders does not give me that feeling, and I hate to say it, but Marathon has that where it matters to build, and they do talk about the trees and your abilities, so it is worth it to invest in working with every faction. It is
Mm-hmm.
110%. You want to. And you will always have a certain level of consistent loot, and just stick with the vendors, and that's what I like. You're not in Arc, you don't have that with the vendors. It's just like you can buy things from them once you finish the missions, and then
Yeah.
there's no really other reason to interact with them besides, oh, I'm gonna buy a bunch of crap. And in this game, it's like, no, factions matter, and pouring the time into them. I'm assuming too, since the seasons aren't like super long, like you probably have to be selective on who you
Mm-hmm.
probably want to main. But I'm sure there's gonna be metas, and Sadow's gonna have all the video breakdowns for you of probably who to go with first, and
Yeah.
who to build into. And but I love it, and I think that's a level of depth that we don't have in Arc at all, because you just have a skill tree, you just have people you're buying weapons from, and that's it. And in Marathon, it's much more in depth with why you're going to be talking to people, right? and
Yeah.
and
And
how you level up.
we can talk a little bit in detail because in the alpha we had Thyak, Traxxas, and Nucal. Pretty much how
Yeah,
I assume they're going to work full on, which is that we had the contracts that gave us rep, and also you'll see in this footage. You can't see it right now, Justin, unless you're looking at the stream. But there is footage on stream. When we kill AI, we get like Thyak rep, and when we loot certain containers, we get Traxxas rep, and when we kill bugs, you get Nucal rep, right? On top of doing the
yeah,
contracts, you can level all these guys up as you play. And then obviously the Maida, Arachne, and Sekgen, Sekaguchi are going to have their own things. I don't actually know what they all do for their rep, but they all have their own rep. Um,
yeah,
and as you level up their rep, every level you unlock like new vendor upgrades. Um, so we saw a couple in the tech test, and who knows? I can't confirm if these are all the same, right? If they're going to stay that way. But Syak, for example, in the alpha had stash expansion for more stash space as an option
hmm,
with multiple versions of that. They had bonuses to the data cards that you can pick up, which,
yep,
as a quick explanation, data cards are like guaranteed money when you find them in the game. If they work how they did in the alpha, you would pick them up, you'd scan them, and you'd get $25 guaranteed. Your whole team gets it when you extract, even if you die. So they would be a benefit to go up to like a 50% bonus on those, I think, after a couple upgrades. And then there was stuff where you can get stat bonuses. So say plus 10 revive speed was an upgrade. That would then give every character that you play 10 more revive speed to their stats. Each shell has their own stat spread, which they show off definitely in the footage and you can see in the test. So as you progress the vendors, you will slowly gain different stats. So prioritizing early on, you can say, I want to go into Arachne because Arachne has, I don't know what they actually have, but let's say they have heat capacity, which I think is actually Syak. But if they have extra heat capacity and you want to be playing glitch and you want to get extra slides, extra jumps, then that's a great way to go and do that. But if you want to maybe play sec gen and they have self repair speed, which is actually the auto heal, which there is auto heal in this game. It's very, very, very slow. But there is automatic healing for your health and your shields. That increases the rate at which it starts and heals, I believe. Um,
Yeah.
so you can build into those and then unlock weapons and unlock healing items and things like that. So, and actually, one of the biggest upgrades at the very bottom, I'll talk and to finish this with the vendors. I think in this alpha test, there was a Traxxas upgrade that made it so that whenever you activate your exfil, a smoke bomb would go off on the exfil until you were done extracting. That
Yeah.
kind of upgrade stuff is like a rewards package for leveling them up, and that is really cool for committing to a vendor. So I agree with you. I think every season's not going to be long enough to fully max out all of these, but you are going to be able to definitely get one or two probably in a season for most players. So prioritizing what your final big bonus you want is going to be very, very important. And then a lot of
Yeah.
the earlier stuff that is you're going to work in just naturally by playing the game, getting your new cal rep for your tads and getting your uh, Mida rep for. Actually, we did actually, I think, no, maybe it was. Sorry, see my mic. Maybe it was Traxxas. I could have sworn in the alpha we got rep for Mida by opening the Mida caches, but maybe it was new cal rep. And I'm just thinking it because I think the caches are quote unquote Mida caches in the quests. Um,
Yeah.
but that will
Yeah.
give you just like all the early stuff for your meds, your backpacks naturally.
What I love too, in even right, like what Sato's saying is like, it's gonna offer us the ability to have different play styles. If you're
Mm-hmm.
a looter, right, you're gonna focus on cyber acme, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they also have loot speed, right?
Yes.
And if you're a person that's super aggressive, I mean, they talk about arachne, and how they're gonna give you certain things,
They've got to have
and
some
I'm
good stuff for being a death cult, right?
yeah. That pertains to killing, but so it's all that stuff is going to allow us to have different levels of play style and what you want to do. And what I like is you're always going to have something to do as well. And again, comparing to Arc, I'll say this is like Arc Raiders, it's you hit a level cap. Like that's it. Like, you're right, you hit 75, you do all the little missions, and then you have nothing to do besides work towards prestiging, and that's it. But in this game, it's like it seems as though you're always gonna have something to work towards, and then you're gonna have your reset of the season, and then like, well, maybe I want to be more aggressive, and I'm gonna focus Mida and Arachne or something, right?
Yeah, it gives you a
Or
chance to
maybe,
change what kind of
yeah,
build you're doing. Yeah, for sure. That's a
and
really good
I
point.
love that. Yeah, and I really love that people sort of, and it's not gonna get stale, and I feel like with Arc, it's gonna hit that level. And I was already seeing it myself. Where like, I think going through all the missions, it was just like I was like, oh, okay. And not to mention, by the way, I went through all quote unquote because there was a bug. I can't even finish one mission, so
Oop.
that's fun. But anywho, back to marathon, and this is what I think that adds that level of depth, and is going to have that level of thought that I know people looking at the alpha test maybe weren't seeing, but it's there, and it's gonna make for just such a fun game because of that. One thing that we could maybe shift over to a little bit as well, like I touched on lore for Arc, and they talk about codexes in the Vidoc here.
Hmm.
The codexes are interesting, man.
I didn't
Like,
really look at them very much, but I
you
think they're kind of similar to like the Destiny lore
yeah.
tabs. Yeah.
Yeah, think of it like the lore tabs, but like, oh man, I can't say it. No, I just thought of it. Well, they show you something that has Art. What's his name? Arthur, the voice actor Arthur Morgan. You could
Yeah.
only think of what that connects to. Okay, within the, I think maybe I could say it. I don't know.
But
But
yeah, there's a lot of lore they're adding in, and then obviously
yeah,
the main quest. I don't think we've actually played like the main quest, so there's probably lore that we're missing
yeah,
from the
we
alpha
only got a.
tests.
We can't say. There was a touch. I'll just say that. But it is really cool, and it's Bungie storytelling, and you're not going to be disappointed. If you listen, I know a lot of people are probably just playing for the PvP. Let's just say you don't you could just worry about that if that's what you want, right? Just focus on playing the game. But for those of you as like me, and especially like someone like Jake or Bon or all these other just like individuals that are super into story, and I'm sure there's a ton of you that are into marathon story, there is stuff for you. And if, for those of you who aren't going to play the game because they're like, no, I wanted it to be like the old school, listen, Jake is going to have a crap ton of stuff for you. And I'll just say that, you're going to be in lore galore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's going to be really cool. And that's something that I actually really enjoyed because that's something that extraction shooters, they have their lore and its background, and it's very feels kind of surface level, like Ark or maybe like Delta Force, right? But this is like it feels a lot more in depth, and it really engages you. And let's say if you like the little Born on Board series that hashtag plug, but that me and Jake were a part of, you're gonna love because it's almost like they took a formatting, a page out of that book, let's just say, and it's so awesome. So, it's gonna be overall it's an enjoyment. I think one thing we could kind of touch on without going too in depth because we don't know what they show, but like because they say loot and weapons, we could say that they all look really cool and it does feel cool.
Yeah, all the weapons feel unique. We don't have like a confirmed list of all the weapons in it or a showcase of all of them. So I don't want to talk too much about the weapons that weren't in the
Yeah.
alpha because obviously we got to use some other stuff when we were testing. Um, but I don't want to reveal something that wasn't shown off or described. But obviously, we've seen a couple of shotguns. We've seen a couple of rifles, a couple of SMGs, right? There was a good variety already in the alpha. They fill it out more. Generally, they all perform how you would expect a bungee gun to feel, right? They are
Mhm.
unique in terms of their fire rates, damage profiles, and everything. So very, very um,
Fun. They
fun.
look cool. Yeah,
Definitely, everybody's gonna have their favorite for sure.
and they talked about like the mods, right? Even with
Yeah,
the
the
newer kit.
mods in the Vidoc are kind of one something I want to touch on a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
because they showed off a CE tech sidearm gold mod that lets you turn invisible after you kill somebody. That's really funny. That gun sucks unless that thing like quadruples the
Yeah,
damage of your
I
shots.
was gonna
Um,
say.
that's gonna be one of the most overhyped things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
People are like, "Oh my god, that's so broken." I'm looking at it like,
Yeah.
bro, this guy one tapped these kids. They must have been sitting there at 1 HP, shields broken for 4 minutes because that thing is awful.
Yeah. It was
It
like so
it's better than the
broken.
overrun though. I'll give it that. I have a burning
It,
hatred for the overrun. I'm sorry. For
it it felt I don't think we could say, but it wasn't horrible this time around. Anyway,
look, I avoided touching it at all costs. Um, the the Magnum or the CE sidearm, I don't think is unless they tweak the numbers,
yeah,
and
it was
change it up, which maybe they did. I don't
oh
know, but like in this alpha, there's got to be some gameplay of it somewhere of me using that thing. That thing shoots peas at people, and they are cooked. They are
yeah.
squishy. They're not frozen.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a really cool. It's a cool proof of concept though of what they're doing with these
Yeah.
gold mods. Because when we played in the alpha, I don't think they were that goaded. Like there was a couple of gold things that were interesting.
Yeah.
Like there was one gold core, which cores and implants are just like side grades. Cores are character specific sometimes. Implants are class agnostic, I believe. Um,
Yeah.
and implants provide stats, cores do not, as far as I know.
Yeah.
This is a brief overview for everybody. The gold core that we found, I think, was for Blackbird. And I'm trying to,
Mhm.
you probably remember this. And it made it so that when you broke somebody's shields, you would activate. No, no, no. What did it do?
It,
It
it
made it so that it
was
would proc your wall hack effect when you knock somebody down instead of when you finish them, or in addition to when you finish
yeah.
them. And
I
that was
think
really cool.
I think too, and I don't know if it's the same core. There was like a core that like when you shoot him, it just pings him. Like if I'm remembering correctly as
It might have
well.
been. It could also be maybe a weapon mod. I'm not totally
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
But definitely there's a lot of things like that that are
yeah,
conversions or uh, improvements on the abilities. Like I think they've mentioned if you might be able to give Steve another jump. I know that's actually in the game. I think they talk about that at some point in one of the previews. So
yeah,
giving Thief a third jump is kind of crazy. Not Thief, Glitch a third jump is kind of crazy. Um,
yeah.
and then they do show off one in the ViDoc, which I had to get a screenshot of because I realized it confirmed something in the uh, medic leak that I was doing that came out the day before. Of course, they revealed his entire kit, which is that
Yeah,
shareware.exe is one of his passives that you share medical items when so your drone
yeah.
is healing somebody, I guess.
That's
Um,
so cool.
so I think in the leak and potentially when I tried the character, it was only stims. So it was cardio kick, um, the energy amp that gave you cooldowns, and like what was it? OS reboot, and the other one. Those are
Yeah,
what were shared. Now in that gameplay in the runner thing from today, it looks like it also shares heals. So the bot
yeah,
heals, and then you also share your med kits and your shield charges. It looks like.
yeah. Like from what are you talking about the little bot, right? Like
Well,
I
the bot is its own ability. Like the bot is a
yeah,
heal
yeah, yeah.
button, and then
Oh, you're
the
talking about like his
passive.
passive.
Yeah, the
Oh,
passive used to share only the stims. Now it shares
I
heals
missed
and
that.
stims. Yeah, they
Oh
showed it off in
snap!
the
That's
thing
gonna be
today.
crazy.
I think it's
Oh
really
man,
cool. Because
yeah,
I the drone heal thing is good on its own, right? Like it's definitely a good effect.
yeah. It's
I
adorable too,
It is really cute. I think
and you can't shoot
the
it. Just so you guys know. Sorry.
you can't or you can.
No, you can. So like if
Oh,
you've seen somebody running that and they're healing, you could shoot it and break it
interesting.
on an enemy. And so it is kind of cool. So it's not like it's you get that and you're like guaranteed shields, man, and it's instant, right?
Yeah.
It's like you can break it. I don't think that's too much detail. I just thought about that.
Um,
But-
the the effect of sharing the heals is good for that character, I think, because that adds a lot of value. Um, because in the interpretation that I was running off of, I was like, yeah, okay, you can share cardio kick. Cardio kick's fine, but we weren't generally taking stims in the alpha because we're taking stims or that kind of stuff. We took the OS reboots and the hardware kits because you need them for certain activities on the map. Like there was a boss zone that we had to have the poison resist to walk in and shoot the boss.
Mhm.
Multiplying that, getting 2 for 1 on that's a good value. Getting 2 for 1 in your heals is probably way stronger. In all
Yeah,
honesty,
it's gonna
um,
be awesome.
so
I'm
very
excited.
cool character reveal.
We never
Most of the
got Thief.
leaks, we did not get to play Thief, but Thief was shown off
Yeah,
today. So I think everything else that was leaked about the medic was pretty accurate. His revive arms obviously was confirmed already, and the EMP, I guess, or stun attack with the arm for his ultimate. That's true. Um, Thief did get shown off today. Thief has been my favorite character since the concept art came out because I like the idea of playing a thief, and she looked pretty cool. Uh,
yeah,
Man, what a skill set! All right, I actually have my script for the thief video that was already recorded.
yeah,
I posted that I had just written the script. I actually had it recorded and cut all the trim already. And I was like, well,
yeah.
guess I'm going back to the drawing board on that. But I had looking at the game post article where I'm pulling all my data from. They had listed the X-ray visor as a passive. They had the grapple and they had the drone, but they did not
Yeah.
have what her second passive was. It was just called the finer things. That was the name on there. And I was like, what can that be? And I was theorizing about it. And I was like, maybe it scales off of the value of loot in some way. And it would make it so that maybe the higher the quality items in the container, the faster you loot it. But now I think after watching this reveal on the runners. I think it's the passive that lets her cooldown be faster based on how much loot's in her backpack. From what they said,
Yeah.
I think you. I don't know. I think you caught that. That's what they
Yeah.
said about the grapple hook. So that's probably that second passive, which means I was so close, but just not as cool as or I didn't think cool enough. Bungie's cooler than I am. But we did get confirmed that she has a grapple. She does have an X-ray visor that shows all the containers that are nearby and the highest
Yeah.
rarity item in them, which is pretty sick. And then also highlights enemies who are in line of sight, which is
Hmm.
very strong looking. And then her ultimate, which is a little drone that flies around, you can ping people, and you
Yeah.
can steal people's loot out of their backpack and then off the floor and then fly away with it. Uh, let's
That's
go, dude.
nuts.
That's my main.
Nuts, man. I'm excited to play. I mean, we got to play most of these. I didn't really get to play medic. Listen, I'm a recon man. I'm Blackbird.
You've been Blackbird main day one, all right? Don't lie
Yeah,
to me.
day one, I just fell in love with her. The tracking, and it looks like they made some stuff a little bit more strong from the last we played because in the video where they're talking about Blackbird and you crack the shield and it shows the footsteps, it looked like it lasted way longer than it normally does. Like it used to kind of like
Okay,
go a little bit
you
quick.
noticed that too? Because I
Yeah,
remember playing Blackbird and being like, "Oh, I broke that guy's shield. I'm gonna go chase him down," and then running from like outside a building to the front door where the guy was, and the footsteps are gone. I was like, "Well, that's
yeah, it
bad."
was it was very pointless. I was just like, what is this? And it was hard to track people. And listen, Blackbird, though she has like, her cool I love her. Another thing that they added with her too, I don't know if you noticed this detail that we didn't even have in our playtest. When you throw the drone, he now has a little light that's showing where he's
Okay,
looking.
I wasn't sure if that was new or not, but yes, I noticed it.
No, that
Yes,
that is new. I remember being like throwing it, and you never knew where he was
where it was
looking
going.
and where
You're
he was going to
like,
go,
"Where the
and it
hell are
was
you
kind of
going, bro?"
upsetting. Yeah, because it's actually very beneficial to like get you out of situations or to you're hunting, right? And it's fantastic. Um, and I would say that though that character too is like wall hacks and stuff. It's compared to like movement wise, like I was joking about this with Sato before, but I'm like, I'm really gonna be trying to catch up, right? Like, I think that there's these, especially Thief seems like she's gonna be like insane to use, like insanely awesome. Um, but I will say this too, the balance in terms of cooldown stuff seems really decent. Like it doesn't seem crazy, and that's what I like. It's got a unique I guess not unique, but a good uh number.
Mhm.
I'm trying to like dance around because I'm like I don't know what I can give in certain
I mean, if we're
details.
talking about like Blackbird's cooldown and Assault,
Yeah,
we've got the alpha
yeah,
footage of it.
yeah,
Where
yeah.
and most of
Blackbird's
the primes
cooldown
were
and
like 5 minutes,
yeah,
I think, and the
yeah.
tacticals were about a minute to a minute 30, depending on the character.
And you
And I think
can
Voids
shave
was a
off.
minute was 90
Yeah, you can shave off time, obviously, like through like I think it's in
upgrades.
cyber acting or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can, and plus your mods and stuff. When they say build crafting, like it's pretty good. Like all the mods, all the your cores and your implants, you can make a really cool build. Um, I a lot of times I would just see if it's like Blackbird specific and then pick it up.
That's
We
probably
did see
how
the
most
name
people do.
change, right? So
Hmm.
that's exciting. Um,
We are on
and that's
shells
good.
instead of runners now,
Yep.
basically.
And they showed off the customization. You guys were able to see some different styles. That some of them I haven't even seen before, but they look cool in terms of colors. That being said, I hope that now they're leaning into the shells, that they lean into uh more extravagant looking, like they keep the silhouette, but you get to have more fun with it. I'm holding out hope that that's something that they'll add eventually later. I'm sure if people keep saying it enough, they might
One
just go for
day.
it, you
Yeah.
know. But
Um
yeah,
yeah, I mean
that's their
a lot of runner stuff. What
Oh,
else was in the?
uh,
Yeah,
audio. The audio we can say comparatively to because now they showed it off. In the alpha, the original alpha was piss poor. it was
I'm
it
not
was not
prepared
good.
to make a statement on it until I get to play the actual game. That's how I feel about
Wh-
audio. You can show me
What
whatever
I
you
will
want on
say,
YouTube, but YouTube is always different than the game.
yeah, and I will say this too. In the art test, compared to what I heard there, what they showed off, way different than what our test was. I'll say that too, because our test it was difficult. It was not as the amount of the more audio detail that they added is definitely a lot more in what they showcased here
Yeah,
than what we got to. Yeah,
the alpha definitely had positional audio issues, which was fine. That's kind of how things are. Uh, I could not tell from a YouTube video how much better it is,
yeah,
because the video has a totally different. YouTube's compression for audio is totally different than what the game is going to be when it's on my computer. So I just generally, they're like, look at these sounds, and I go, that's certainly a sound you played over YouTube, my guy. But the birds,
yeah,
they are cool. The lightning strikes were cool. When the shots of them just like kind of walking around, um,
yeah,
always great just to see, and the ambiance is definitely there. Also, on stream now, if anybody's looking, this is the Dire Marsh fog that I so dearly hated. Um, and this is like
yeah,
the light fog version. It gets worse than this. This is the clear
yeah.
on Dire Marsh in the alpha. So
It was, I was comfortable with it because I'm used to like the classic meme of Call of Duty where they did that zombie map and they're talking about and they're like, and then the fog rolling in, and they just had a meme where it just kept saying that over and over again. But yeah, no, I think probably we can now debrief final thoughts, and
yeah,
then we could maybe move into some quick addressing, and then we'll obviously end it there. We want to stick to an hour, but it's nearly
we're
two.
at an hour
So,
45. So if
oh,
we can
hour
finish,
40. Okay.
if we can wrap it up by like 11:15, that's probably best. I mean, I gotta
Yeah,
go to
I'm
work in the
trying
morning,
not
but I work
to. I'll
from
try
home
not to
tomorrow,
take too
so
long in the
it's fine.
addressing. But we can. Your final thoughts. What do you feel?
On
Uh,
the marathon Vidoc, marathon in general,
Marathon in general, from now what
yeah.
we played, what we're able to talk about, what
Um,
was now shown that we didn't get to experience yet.
from where I'm standing, looking at the Vidoc and the graphics that they have shown me, seeing the changes to the mechanics that I'm not gonna we haven't talked about, but like we can see a lot of changes to like the healing system and stuff like that in the Vidocs. Um, I'm very optimistic that the game looks how people want it to look now, and it's gonna play how I want it to play now. And I've already been a fan of obviously the map design, the gameplay, these fights. Like I wouldn't be sitting here still making videos about this if I was not so in love with the core of this game. But the alpha was honestly such a fun experience that I am still reminiscing about it now. There are days where I sit here and go, man, I wish we were playing Marathon right now. Um, because it's a very good core experience. I'm very hopeful that people will now be more prepared to engage with it after playing Arc Raiders. I think we're in a better place in terms of people's opinion of extraction shooters, and their expectations are a bit more tempered. So I think it is definitely a good thing that the game ended up being delayed. Um, all things happen for a reason, they say, and this was not a bad reason to get delayed for. The game's
Yeah,
certainly come together in a way that I wasn't sure they could pull off. And I'm pretty sure I was saying this in April, May that I don't. they can definitely hit September, but I don't know how they're actually going to finish everything. It feels like there's a lot to do. Um, but now it definitely looks and feels like it's in a state that I'm very excited to play this next public
Yeah.
test. I'm gonna go crazy on that test. We're gonna go so hard. I'm taking off work whenever that
Oh my,
happens.
yeah. I trust me, I am really debating on, especially when the game comes out, like just taking off a lot of days of work. I think in terms of like my thoughts on it too, phenomenal. I
Hmm.
think that I have been sitting by Bungie's side since this thing was announced, and people hated the fact that they were gonna when they leaked it back in what, like 2022, or
Yeah.
that it was an extraction shooter and it was based on Marathon. I was all for it and then I seen the trailer. I've known the lore, and even knowing the lore and watching gameplay of the game, I love this game, and I love Bungie. I do support them, and I know that there's a whole bunch of other controversy, and they're going through a rough patch, especially with like Destiny, and I won't get into too much of that, but I will say that they're good company. The beauty of Bungie is that you're buying into great gunplay, and people say that like, oh yeah, it's just that, like who cares? No, great gunplay. When I'm playing Ark and I'm playing this game, I'm like left with like, now this is how you shoot a gun. Like now this is fun. Like now this is exciting, and they, I think, are bringing something fresh into the extraction shooter genre. Yeah, we've seen hero shooters technically before with Delta Force, but this seems like in a much more thought out and deeper way than in Delta Force, because you cannot build craft, you cannot do nothing. It's just couple abilities, that's it. Um, and it surprised me, right? Like there was, trust me, there's some things that Bungie did, of course, that I was not a fan of. But I knew they would pull through. Bungie is a company that when their backs against the wall, they're going to design something. And I know the game's still not out fully, but I from what I've played, from what I've seen, I can confidently say, and honestly, without bias, like it is a good game. And when I'm able to compare it to all these other extraction shooters, and what makes it fun is it's awesome. I love the art style. This is something that like I've never had an art style speak to my character, and just like if I were to describe me in an art style, it would be Marathon. And it just, this clean nature of it, and yet it has this like, it's almost like you're staring at this just pristine painting, you know what I mean? And it's just calm and it's peace, and yet there's chaos and grime, right? Like, and it's such an awesome expression that I want to get into creative producing someday for animation, and this is an art style that I think would be that I would adopt for a lot of my projects doing going forward, because it's spectacular, and I think that in itself, it's aside from visually appealing, the gameplay is what we need, and I think it's going to be really great to be able to experience that on console. I think they nailed it. That being said, is it going to outsell like Arc Raiders or something? I don't think so. I really don't. Not that it's a bad thing. But I've been saying, I tell my friends this too. Though, you think it's going to oversell? I'm like, no. But do I think it has a place alongside Arc Raiders? Yes. It
Hmm.
has a place alongside Tarkov. Yes. One thing I always talk about is like this. I call the top three theory, right? The idea that like when you think of the big three for like battle royale, it's
PUBG,
Apex,
Fortnite, Warzone.
Fortnite,
Yeah.
yeah, Warzone. Like those games, and then we even have four, right? Like we have PUBG, we have, so they can coexist, and is my point. And I really feel like, people are like, oh yeah, Arc Raiders is gonna, and this is a great segue, but Arc Raiders is gonna kill, Marathon, and I can't wait, and it's so much better, and it needs to destroy it. It's like it shouldn't necessarily. I mean, it's good to compete, but also they can coexist. They don't have to destroy each other. Is my point.
Yeah,
And
I think
yeah,
I think
go
you're
ahead.
right. Eight Arc Raiders is fundamentally a very different experience than Marathon. There's going to be some overlap for sure, but a lot of people who are interested in Marathon have nothing to do with Arc Raiders, and a lot of people who play Arc Raiders are not going to care about Marathon just because they're really into PVE. They're really into post-apocalyptic, grungy sci-fi. Whatever their reasons are, there's going to be plenty of people who just aren't going to make that jump. I think the concept of Marathon being a very PvP heavy extraction shooter is more niche than Arc, which is more focused on PVE. I think that's how they market it, at least, right? Um, so I agree with you. It's going to be a smaller player base, but that does not mean anything like it's going to be unsustainable. If it's going to be any worse for wear with something like only selling enough copies to have 200,000 concurrent players or 100,000 concurrent players, who cares? You know, as long as they have enough players to continue producing and improving the game, they're in a good spot. They make their
Yeah.
profit, whatever margin to meet. I was also going to say you were mentioning Bungie earlier about how Bungie's not that bad. Uh, like Bungie as a company makes some missteps. You know, Bungie
Yeah.
will mess up, and I think that's just how things are. Everybody makes mistakes. Every company you've been a fan of has or will make a mistake. Um, Sometimes Bungie makes mistakes and they can't fix it, and that's pretty rough. But I want to say 90 to 95% of the time, when Bungie makes a change or does something or makes a gameplay decision, and you feel bad about it and you don't like it, if people are complaining about something, Bungie's not against listening to community sentiment and re-evaluating these kind of things, especially like in Destiny, right? They go back and they will buff or nerf or tweak or look at something, whatever people are complaining about constantly. Um,
Yeah.
they'll do big reworks to the game to try to make more engaging in ways that people want, and then they'll reiterate and they'll make mistakes and they'll unchange things. They'll revert changes. They've rolled back servers. Um, so they aren't perfect, and I'm not going to say whether you should put your faith in them or not at all times and trust them to handle everything perfectly. Um, but in terms of how much money I give Bungie a year, they do a good enough job for me that I am continuing to play and uh, buy their products. So I think you gotta make your own decision on if that's worth it to you. But Bungie are communicative. Um, a lot of the developers that we have now that are doing things like people are really excited about how much Arc devs tweet or talk about like what they're planning, and that's just and Borderlands has like a weekly update about what their weekly stuff going on is and their updates. I feel like a lot of that stuff is really started by Bungie because Bungie's been doing the weekly TWAB since Destiny 1, I think. So
Yeah.
they are very in tune and communicative, and I think that's the most I can ask for a company. But I agree.
Yeah.
There's definitely places where they misstep, but the game I think is in good hands, uh, and it's definitely compelling as it is for me as well.
Yeah. I think too with Bungie, you put the fire under the butt and they will do the right thing, right? They will ultimately
Yeah,
listen to the community.
I don't want to
And
say the ultimate thing people say, which is like Bungie does their best
yeah,
work when they're under gonna go under.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean,
but
this is not like a go ahead to like jump them in terms of like, just harassing them to change something. But it's the fact that like, when the pressure's on, they'll cook,
yeah, Bungie's a
and that's
pressure cooker.
yeah, they're pressure cooker, man. That's a perfect analogy. I love that. It's, they gotta put them under pressure and they cook, man. Literally, like there's no better other way of putting it.
Oh yeah,
And yeah, and I think this is gonna be really great, and it's good. It's innovative enough, I think, in the extraction shooter base, and I think that they will take it, especially with these raid mechanics. We'll see how that works, and eventually what their future plans are or where they can take it in the future. I think it's going to be really cool. Is my point. And
Hmm.
yeah, I have all the hope in the world. That being said, does the whole world have all the hope? Uh, I can't help myself. I try and gauge what the community's thoughts are with Marathon. When this Vidoc came out, I was scared, but I looked at the comments. I went through all of them, newest to the most popular, right? And it was surprisingly positive, and I loved every single bit of it. A lot of people, I guess, are see to believe apparently, but either way, that's okay. I don't blame them, right? It's something new. They want to make sure that this isn't a cash grab type of thing, and it is just so awesome the overwhelmingly positive reviews that they've been having now, comments, so that's cool. That being said, there are those of you that are negative, and there are a lot of people from art creators that sort of, it's your first extraction shooter, it's exciting, it's new, it's the top extraction shooter, and I'm happy for you. That being said, our creators didn't create extraction shooters.
Yeah.
A lot of comments will say multiple things, and I found one comment that it went perfectly because this
Okay.
was a lot of the sentiment I would see. They said that Marathon looks very similar to Ark. And they listed that they feel like that the weather system in Ark Raiders or in Marathon is a blatant copy from Ark Raiders. Well, I hate to
Hmm.
break it to you, an extraction shooter that had weather systems that would damage you like lightning is ever heard of the extraction shooter that closed? Oh no, I'm blanking out. What's the name of it
Thinking
again?
of the cycle.
The Cycle. They did that, and honestly, like weather patterns like lightning strikes is something that is very common in video games. It's not like a new concept or something new to do.
Well, here's the thing:
We've
if
seen
if
this before.
if you think the first game to have weather in the game is Arc Raiders, you need to go back to the '90s. I don't know what to
Yeah,
tell you.
and they're saying like weather hazards. I'm like, excuse me. I'm like, so in that case, Ark, I guess, created that snow event, even though the division did it first on their extraction shooter. Anyway, with their survival mode, like so I just thought that that was a little bit wild in terms of a comment, and there was multiple people saying this rhetoric, right? Like the same point that's just putting it out there that they copy, that they stole. And mind you, the Lightning Marathon's Alpha came out before Arc Raiders, even if you wanted to kind of go based off of that. Their Alpha was out first. So,
And the lightning
um,
strike was in it, so
yep. Sound design. Copy to copy from Arc Raiders, and they said breaching sounds and footsteps above. Now, I hate to break it to you, but good audio in video games, especially being PvP, is not accustomed to only Arc Raiders. They didn't create good audio, and on top of that, if you really wanted to, think of a game that really went in depth with making sure that audio is important, is I don't know, Tarkov that came out before Arc Raiders.
hang on. I need you to read that again. What's this about? There's no breaching doors in Marathon, so what are they talking about?
I have no clue, but they were just trying to give examples. So I was saying it again. Sound design is copy to copy from Arc Raiders. For example, breaching sounds and footsteps above you. Um,
Huh. I didn't
Interesting.
realize footsteps were created by Ark. That's my bad. I will take my shoes off in the house from now on. I
Forgive
don't
me.
know.
I apologize.
Yeah, my
Oh,
bad.
this was one that I seen like, dude, I've seen it so many times. The bird thing, which is infamous in Arc.
Oh, I'm losing you again.
Oh, you're losing me again.
Yeah, you
I'm
see
so
the
sorry.
birds. What happened with the birds?
So he said bird thing, which is infamous in Arc Raiders. They copied that too.
The bird thing?
Yeah, you know how birds scatter
Birds
away and
flying away from you?
is only an Arc Raiders thing. It's never been done in Hunt and Showdown.
Yeah, actually, they all stole that from Hunt, and then Hunt probably stole it from somewhere else. But
Exactly. Or Apex. There's plenty of examples we can give you, but if you want extraction shooters, Hunt did it first. Thank you very much. uh, Here's another one: hovering drones slash scanners. That's basically the snitch, and the same thing happens when the snitch sees you. They alert AI arc to your position. Well, I don't think we could actually spoil what that device does in Marathon. I don't think we could
no, we
say what it
cannot.
does.
We cannot talk about
But
what it
I can
does.
say, oh, can we say what it does? Like if it's not similar?
I will say it is an enemy. Um,
Yes,
but even at the core of their concept, if the this is copying because the enemy says that you are there.
that's
That's how enemies work, and that's how like games are designed. That when an enemy sees you, they usually tell nearby enemies.
yep.
Um, I don't think they have shown what that thing does, and I don't think they said, "Oh, this is a scanner that tells other enemies where you are."
Yeah,
I think
they
they
never
just
did.
show it, and they just go, "Oh, look at this." They don't say what it is. They just go, "Here's a clip while I'm talking about something else." You know?
All
I,
I'll say too is like just it's it's gonna surprise you. I
yeah.
actually just go up to it. What you know, you the person I know you know who you are that made that comment. I don't want to put your username out there and get harassed, but um, uh, listen, just go up there when you see it, and you eventually play the game. You know, in the
Go find out what
test,
it does. Go ahead.
you'll
It's
find out
okay.
what it does, and it's gonna be great. Um, Here's his fifth point. Event systems in this game is basically the same or very similar to Ark's events. For example, Matriarch and Harvester.
Fellas, is it stealing Arc Raiders content to have events in your game?
Yeah, I didn't know. I I don't know. Maybe the DMZ also copied Arc Raiders from having events in their game, like Diablo events and
Damn,
Arthur
I can't believe
Hazard's one.
Tarkov stole from Arc Raiders and they added bosses to the map. That's
Yeah, that's
crazy.
crazy, dude.
Hey,
And
remember
the
when
Christmas
Skyrim
Santa
added
Claus.
quests to your objectives and they would just spawn? That's crazy, dude. I can't believe they stole that
Remember
from
when
Arc Raiders.
they should really have events like I don't know, like events like, it's insane how they copy, dude. It's so crazy how they went to the future,
Dude,
copied off of
yeah,
others.
I can't believe Final Fantasy One stole a random encounter off of Arc Raiders. That's crazy.
Yo, dude, this is something, and again, this is wasn't the only guy that's saying it. He's just the one who like wanted to document it all in one comment. So it was
Yeah,
spectacular for me. And I had to be a little bit petty and bring it up because, and well, and not just petty because it's like I know this is people's first extraction shooter, and you think that, but I want to break the wall down and for you to know that like hazardous weather isn't just an Arc Raiders thing because literally DMZ did that, and this is the COD that did like a half baked extraction shooter. So, and head events and all this other stuff. On to the next one. Oh, you're gonna love this one. Tripwires, more like alarms. Um, Apparently they stole that too.
huh?
Oh, brother. The the tripwires, dude. You know, an alarm. They're like the alarm systems. They're saying in Arc Raiders. Uh, I,
Um,
I didn't know that they stole that.
uh, I don't know how to respond to this. I genuinely I don't know
Yeah,
how the idea of a trap is
it kind it. it
It's
kind of
kind of
makes
Arc
me,
Raiders IP, you know.
yeah, it kind of makes me think this guy's never played a video game like ever.
Kind of makes me think this guy's never been pranked by his friends.
Yeah. Holy, oh, this next one's going to be very fun because we both talked about this in detail. Quests are very similar to Arc Raiders quest system. Um,
You're gonna have to be a lot more specific than that. The quest system is very quest system. You do quests.
yep, yep, there are quests in
You
the
like to
game.
would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Are they akin to extraction shooters? I don't know this. Hmm. I'm curious. I am curious. And well, if I wanted to assume what they're saying, the quest systems are kind of similar, but very different because one is much more depth. Anyway,
No, but at the end of the day, let's be real here. A quest is a quest. Some guy gives you a
yes,
quest and says go do this in the game, and you go do it in the game. I don't
copyright, right?
I
Boom.
I don't care what the quest is, what the text is, what the vendor says to you, how many hoops you have to jump through. Some guy giving you a fetch quest is a fetch quest. All right, we've been doing quests for like 40 years. All right, I don't think the quest system being you get a quest and do the quest for XP is revolutionary in any degree. That's just what a
Yep.
game is. A
No, no, no,
game,
no,
a
no.
game is objective.
No, no, no.
This
Apparently, to this guy, Arc Raiders created quest systems. Okay,
is why
it's
I don't read YouTube
something
comments.
fishy's going on around here. There's quest systems, and all the Arc Raiders does quest systems. Okay, and here's his last point, and then I'll give his finishing statement. His marathon ship basically sounds like Stella Montes. Uh,
Yes, it is the end game. That is, they are
yep,
both the end game maps. That is true.
this is very true, and they're
In the broadest sense, this guy is right. You know,
yeah, you're
the
right.
this is the same quest system. This is the last map of the game. They are PvP maps.
They're
Um,
tiny.
they're different maps. They're not the same layout. One's in first person, one's in third person. One's in space, one's on a planet. You know,
One's only just a part of the ship.
one
If
of them
you're
we
gonna
haven't
say
seen.
marathon ship, I mean,
Yeah,
there's gonna be multiple sections that you already confirmed. But anyway,
like is the quest system the same quest system? Yes. Does anybody
um,
care? No. I don't know what Bungie is
listen,
supposed to do if the quest system is taken and having something happen in game is taken. Because you can't
well,
have an event in
maybe,
game.
well, maybe his final statement's gonna sway you. All
Oh
right,
no.
look, I might be wrong about this, but when I saw Marathon's gameplay some time ago, it didn't feel like Ark at all. But now it sounds too similar to it. And that was his final take. Oh, wait. Actually, I lied. I lied. There's a little bit more. And I'm totally aware that I might be the only person who's thinking that like that. And I'm not so sure about how to feel about this because competition is a good thing, but getting ideas from another game that just came out and you are competing with it, I'm reading exactly what he said. I'm not sure about that. Points 5 and 6 are way too similar, which are event systems and tripwires, by mind you, are way too similar
I
to Arc
hate that
Raiders.
tripwires are on this list. Like the tripwires have never been done before. No one's ever thought of a tripwire.
I like the art style of Marathon a lot, and I want to explore this world. but I'm not sure about the way they just copied, in quotes, or got inspired. I don't know. Arc Raiders homework. Oh, he's saying that they copied the Arc Raiders homework. I'm open to criticism and debate. By the way, I'm not some god who's right all the time. Now, I did leave a long, lengthy comment, really detailing, taking every point very seriously. And then he goes, his response was, "That's thank you for your opinion." Dot 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 dot. Like meaning, like he didn't. It was just an opinion, not really just facts. But wow. And but this has been the sentiment for a lot of people when this video came out that were just commenting all over it that they were stealing from Ark. And at the end of the day, let's be real, guys, it's an extraction shooter. It's also a video game. And a lot of these systems are very similar to a lot of video games. Also, let us mind you, Marathon has been in development since 2018, very similar to our Ark, sure.
It was
Most
supposed to come out
definitely.
in September before Arc.
But it was supposed to come out before Ark.
Most of these
And
systems were in the alpha in April.
yes, they were
Like we
in the
have
alpha
footage
in
of them
April.
in April.
Arc Raiders was the one who shifted to an extraction shooter barely in 2023, which is when we already got the teaser trailer to Marathon. So by that point, a lot of systems were far along, and I know they did scrap a lot and redo, but like these literally were the same games on launch of the alphas for both of the games that we got to play. So I just, that those comments, guys, is like null and void. Let's not be a little bit. Let's use critical thinking and know that video games have similar things, and they're just pulling all the
Two
cool bits.
people can have an idea that's similar at different
Yeah,
times, or at the same time,
and
in different
you
places.
can. It's crazy to think, but when you're creating something, this is why you don't always want to be the first to do it because people could also use inspiration from what you created in terms of like Tarkov and all these other games, and they took the bits that they like that make a great extraction shooter and just put it in the game to make the ultimate extraction shooter. So,
Look, I am
like,
sick and tired of people taking inspiration from the carriage wheel. Get rid of the wheels on cars because that was already thought of. Think of something new, all right? Let's go ahead.
yes, I
No
want
no inspiration.
squares.
But well, this is more like I guess if somebody said, you can't have Welch's grapefruit or Welch's grape juice because Welch's apple juice was made the next week. So the apple juice, juicing a fruit, you can't do that because somebody already juiced a grape. So you can't juice an apple. All right.
Yeah. So this is the sentiment, and then you have, and I'll go through this one very quickly, so that way we could wrap up here. And just, I think my point was really made with this comment, but you have people like Jack Frags that had made a video where they were discussing a lot of Marathon and his thoughts on it.
Yeah.
And in that video, a lot of his critique was,
Wait. I'm losing you. Wait. Oh no. His critique
oh,
was. His critique was.
oh, his critique essentially was that Marathon needs to be art creators, and in reality, they don't need to be. One, I don't want, and everybody commented this, which I was very surprised in his comments. People were coming for him, being like, "I normally agree with you, but you missed the mark." And I really do think that with his critique, missed the mark majorly. Not every game has to be Arc. Like one of the things he said was like proxy chat. Oh, you got to do things to make Marathon friendly, and so people want to use proxy chat. It's like, no, you don't have to. It's like it's their own game. They could do what they want. Just because they're competitors to Arc Raiders doesn't mean that like you have to do literally what this guy was going up, speaking out against. Apparently,
Right.
is copying Arc Raiders. That makes zero sense as a critique. It doesn't have to be the same game. And to be quite honest, and Jack Fries does admit this, he really hadn't had a ton of playtime on this game. The systems in this game are very in depth, very intuitive. they are what an extraction shooter should be, and I think it very much in the genre. It feels fantastic, and it feels unique to Marathon, but it also feels like, yes, they took a lot of the cool bits that they loved from extraction shooters. And mind you, when this idea came about, uh, what's his face, Christopher Barrett talked about how he was inspired by Tarkov when playing Tarkov at the time back in 2017. Upon its release, he loved Tarkov and wanted to create an extraction shooter, thus pitching Marathon. So a lot of that just comes from inspiration from Tarkov. And so this is something that we have to just keep in mind, that these games could be different. These games can pull inspiration. All games do. They use systems that they like and they just implement to make a really cool game. And I think we need to all stop this narrative that one needs to beat the other. I think that's crazy. It's let's just let it be a game, right?
Yeah, I would like to have
Marathon.
multiple games to play instead of one
Yeah,
game dying so I can play the other.
and I would like for them to all feel uniquely them. I would like Tarkov to feel like Tarkov, and I would like our creators to feel like our creators, and I would like Marathon to feel like Marathon. They don't all have to be the same, which is again a lot of his critique was even with like the characters. Like, yeah, he mentioned that he didn't want a hero system, but his explaining was that everybody likes to be a mindless grunt, and that's why we like the extraction shooters. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to be because of that. It's so, allow these games to be different. Let's all come together and just enjoy video games and want to play multiple video games, like Sad I was saying.
Let's play this
And
and Arc Raiders. Ah, I'm cheating. I'm
and
cheating.
lastly, with the art thing, let's get it straight. They stole a ton of decals, not the entire art style. You literally can't steal an entire art style, dog. Like, come on.
Yeah,
I guess I
graphic
guess
realism was not invented by the artist. Um,
yeah,
yes, someone did steal decals.
and that is
They have
wrong.
settled out of court. You know, maybe in court. I don't know. I don't think there was a court case because people would have heard about it.
Yeah,
Probably
it
public.
was like
Um,
civil.
but they settled. So
Yeah,
you know they,
and
but they did right by that person by eventually giving them what they needed. Was it bad that they didn't catch it beforehand? Yeah,
yes,
that's
very incompetent,
that's real
not good.
bad. Um, but I'm glad
And
that one, people were looking out for that, and the artist did notice it and called them out. And I think Bungie was very quick on saying they were going to talk to that person. I think it was within the week that it came up. They were like,
was within
"We're
the week.
going
Yeah,
to be in
I
talks
said
with
that
them."
was wrong.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I just want to correct that.
So I think
Yeah,
it's
it's just an art style, and I think that, like, I'm just tired of that narrative. I'm glad like Jake had addressed it at some point too in a video. And I feel like some creators need to address it some more. Uh, well, not to bring too much light to it, but in the way that, like, when people start saying that, it's like, okay, well, let's be realistic in what it is. And I get that it's wrong what they did, and you want to keep pushing, and you're angry at them, and I 100% was disappointed as well, and very angry that they had done something like that, because they didn't need that, right? They didn't need that sort of press. They didn't need none of that negativity, and they don't need to be stealing from people, right? But the art style, that sorry, it's just factual that that art style was not stolen. It's literally was the decals that
it
they
was some
shown.
decals. Yes, like
Like,
they stole some
let's
decals. They did not
and
steal
to be
graphic
quite
realism.
honest, they said it was someone that left, and not to really pull defense for the person, but artists a lot of times use vision boards essentially that are there where they pull the inspiration for the art style that they're working on. It's very common in terms of using that stuff. So it's not bad to use stuff as inspiration, but yes, it is in fact bad that you're copying and pasting decal or whatever it is. Any sort of art, obviously, in the game is not cool. That being said, though, I, I just want this game to be its game. I think it's gonna be definitely a top three in extraction shooter base. I really do. I think you all are going to enjoy it. Give it a chance, give it a shot. They're gonna have a free to play weekend. They are gonna show a roadmap that was, I think, recently confirmed in their TWAB,
Ooh.
or just in general, that they're gonna show a roadmap before the game comes out, and you can make your decision if you want to play it. And if you're gonna play the game, play it because you enjoy it. Don't feel forced into it. Don't feel like you have to hate it because everybody else is hate mobbing it either. Just enjoy it for what it is. It's a fantastic game. And for those of you who have been, ringside and on the side of Marathon and Bungie holding out hope, at least I was pleasantly, not really, I guess pleasantly surprised. I guess is what I'm. But it was a good experience. It was a pleasant experience playing the game, and I can't wait for it like to be in everybody's hands so we could talk more in depth about it.
Literally less than 2 months. So we're
Yeah,
we're so close. And it's
yeah.
funny. I'm just gonna say this right now. I can't believe going from watching that reveal teaser like
Hmm.
once a week
Yeah,
for a year and being like, man, I'm gonna start doing marathon videos for funsies because I think this game is gonna be pretty cool. I want to talk about it. To meeting Jake and you and everybody and all kind of being like, "Oh, this is good. This is really fun. Let's all talk about this." To, "Oh my god, there's a public alpha coming out like next week. Oh my god." Then
yeah,
going, "All right, well, let's start talking about this alpha. Let's buckle down and start talking about all these things." And they go, "Oh, here's another test. We're changing things." Go, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." And then it's like, okay, well, let's talk about what we talked about. And the ViDocs just came out. Oh, here's some runners. Also, the game's coming out in March. What do you mean? So
yeah,
it just feels like we went straight from let's talk really big theory on what the game could do, what opportunities do they have, you know,
yeah,
to the game comes out in 2 months. What's the skinny? How does the game play? What's the characters do? We know everything. Here's the numbers, you know. So I'm
yeah. It, it's amazing
overwhelmed
to
to a
to
degree.
Yeah, I think like honestly for the core community that loves marathon, I can honestly say you guys are spectacular. And I'm happy with the fact that again, how does all these people that literally know nothing about each other, being brought together by, I did the same thing. That marathon trailer out, I watched it every single. I annoyed people with how hyped I was in watching that, and then I remember watching Jake's videos like almost every night and just being like, dude, like this is like, oh, more lore. Yeah, yeah, explain marathon to me, and then watching Hidden Xperia, and then watching Bond, and then one day just reaching out to Jake, and then reaching out to Bond, and then Bond's like, "Yo, actually, I'm connected with Jake." I'm like, "What is going on?" And then it's just like getting to connect, and then I'm watching you too, like as well. And then we somehow connected. I was like, "Yo, I just want to talk marathon with you." And we sat and we just got to know each other and talked marathon for like literally 2 to 3 hours
Yeah.
about our hopes and the things that are coming out. And then we're like, let's just do a podcast. Like, let's do an episode just discussing this. And I'm like, yes, please.
And then the next day
And
they're like,
so,
anyway, here's some more stuff that all the stuff you just talked about has been explained and you're wrong. I'm
yeah,
like, oh well. I can't
yeah.
that's
All our theories.
every time we do a not great episode, something
Yeah.
happens the next day. It's like without fail.
Yeah. I can't wait for them to show everything that they NDA'd us on.
Yeah, that's
We
why
said
that's why I'm just like, let's just stream this one because at least it'll be like out there the
there's
day
some
before this
record.
next thing comes out, you know?
There's some record of what we said, but it's so it is. It really has like to just kind of like even piggyback off what you're saying. It's like it has been a spectacular. I'm honored. I love that. I can express myself with voice acting, with a community that I love, and I literally, I was just talking about this at some point. I do this for the love of the game, like literally both. Like I love just voice acting, and two, I love the community and I love the game, and it's a dream to even if I'm not voice acting in a Bungie game, hey, at least I'm voice acting in a whole audio play with Jake, and I'm sitting and I love podcasting and being able to podcast with Sato. This guy's watch and break down all the little theories of how the characters are going to work and what extraction shooters are. And even being able to work with Bond, this immaculate editor. It's just been such a pleasure. And then to have also, not to toot my own horn, but that video be reacted to that I voice acted in with Across, somebody I've followed for such a long time,
Yeah.
um, is amazing. It's amazing to be connected with everybody. And it's more than just like showing talents and stuff. But my point is like it allowed me to express myself even further, with the career that I love, and it allowed me to connect to such great friends and start building relationships with you amazing people. And I will say this too. I met some, shout out to the two individuals that I made friends with playing the marathon alpha at some point too. We played with them random at some point, and they were absolutely spectacular to just have fun and play the game with. That when the full game comes out, I mean, we got a lot of people to play with, but I'm sure gonna make sure
Yeah.
they're on the roster. Oh, and then marathon, we almost forgot to shout him out. He's spectacular. I love Epitome. He's amazing, and I'm so happy to have connected with him as well. So what a great experience. But that's all my thoughts. I don't know if you have any lasting thoughts before we
I'm thinking I'm
end
sleepy.
our only
Yeah.
hour.
I mean, I think we hit pretty much most of it. It's funny because it feels almost like the end, but it's
Just
actually the beginning. Like the game's not even out yet, Um, and it feels like the end of a Herculean task of like trying to talk about and be a fan of a game that's like the most we've got is one Vidoc with like 40 seconds of gameplay to now we have all this stuff and confirmed updates and people are like, wait, this actually looks kind of good. I've seen a lot of positive stuff on the Vidocs and the runner stuff that's been coming out, which is really just it's nice to see after people
wait
were
for
pretty
you.
negative with the alpha and then with
Yeah.
the when the art stuff happened, so I it's rejuvenating to a degree.
Oh yeah.
Um, so and also now that I'm doing all my stuff on one channel, so Destiny and marathons all together, um, I've felt more able to do both. Just doing two on two separate channels felt so crazy for a while.
Yeah.
So doing it all on one, it feels like the start um, of something new. Not to quote High School Musical, but here we go. Uh, it's it's been a fun journey with everybody, and I'm excited to be able to start the next half with everyone as we actually get to play the game now.
Yeah. Like, subscribe on them. You better like and subscribe on Sato. You hear me?
Yes,
He's
and
been
Justin, if you have socials to audio plug, you got this is your chance now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, feel free to follow me. I'm on Twitter under JNote, J underscore note, and I think there's another underscore on that. So feel free to follow me on Twitter. I really just update you guys there in terms of like if I'm coming out with a video. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Again, I love doing voice acting. I do have another channel, but I'm debating on whether or not how in depth, and finding time sometimes is very difficult with getting into it. So
Yeah,
I at least want to express myself through first voice acting. So I hope you guys enjoy watch some videos. They're just a minute long, but I like showing off my vocal chops to you guys, and writing as well. Writing some fun, cool little, literally like I said, minute shorts that I hope you guys enjoy. Um, but yeah, and keep following. Obviously, Sado.
ooh,
We're
it's
gonna keep,
me.
at least we're hoping to continue doing the, you know, not great, and especially as the game launches and figuring out topics and doing other cool things with this is going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you subscribe to both of us because now they got the cool thing where you could see us both. So it's going to
True.
be exciting time.
Yeah. And as for me, you have all been here. You're on my channel probably if you're watching this video. But you can subscribe for more marathon stuff. We're gonna do this. I don't know how scheduled we're gonna be about this because when we started doing this, it was very conceptual.
Very
We're like, yeah,
sparse.
marathon's going to be happening at some point, so let's like just record some long things. And now that we're like
Yeah,
less than 2 months out, I was like, maybe we should just do this live and
yeah,
just chat about it, and then we'll just move the whole thing over, and that
yeah,
just minimizes how much we're working on it, how many errors we can have with recording something this long, um,
yeah.
and then just get that over. And
Poured it over. Yeah,
if it's just gonna be us sitting here talking, then maybe once we'll probably try to do one more before the game comes out after the network test that comes out, and then
yes,
a couple weeks after the game comes out, we'll probably do another one, and then maybe we'll do an hour every month, or maybe we'll do 2 hours every 2 months or something. Just something consistent. Maybe once a season, if we're busy, right? But
yeah,
I'd like to still chat, especially if we're going to stream it and then put it up. And then
yeah,
we can definitely very easily at this point, once the game is out, get somebody like Jake or Vaughn or anybody to hop in Intel to just talk, because we're not going to be worrying about NDAs and different NDAs and who
yeah.
can talk about what, who's seen
That's
what,
what's gonna be
who's
fun
thinking about
about
it.
that tech test that you're saying. It's like being able to like spill our guts.
Yeah, finally being able to tell people that glitch is awesome. Three
And all
three
the
slides. Oh
stories
my
that we
god.
kind of like we went through, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's that's gonna be so, and it's gonna be exciting too. Even aside from not great, I'm sure that there's gonna be quite a few times that we're gonna be playing, together and both on and off streams. So you guys, might be able to see some fun gameplay from us. Just
Sure.
you know, just shooting it literally
Shooting the shit.
and playing all together. I think that's gonna be really cool as well. So yeah, just keep an eye out and
We'll see you all again very, very soon. I'm gonna go ahead and close out the stream and end this out, and you'll catch me probably. I don't know what I'm doing next. It's probably Thief or a Destiny video, but if you made it to the end of this, congratulations, because this is long. And if you didn't
yeah,
skip ahead, I really applaud you for the watch time. But we'll
yeah.
see you all again soon, and that is it for today.
Peace.